just unfuck yourself or I will unscrew your head and shut down your neck!
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the War Games podcast number 22. So, you sons of bitches got one hell of a show ahead of you tonight. I am joined tonight by Mr. Patty, who some of you may know as the Tin Man on Twitch. I know him as Patty, so he will henceforth be referred to only as Patty. Also joining us tonight is Miss Seri and Mr. ShankTheNood. Good evening, gentlemen and lady. Thank you for joining me tonight.
What's up? Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And also, hopefully joining us in a little bit will be DJ. He is currently on his way home, so hopefully he will be able to join us tonight. So, firstly, before we get to any introductions or anything, we did have Melius slide in there at the very start with a 5-month resub. Thank you very much for that, brother. Always appreciate the continued support. So, some of you may be wondering, well, who in the fuck are these people? I have never heard of them. Why do I not know them? Aside from Patty, who has been on the podcast before. Long short of it, I was introduced to these guys via Patty. They're some good friends of his. They recently started their own podcast. They did their first one last Friday, and I would consider it a hit. I found it very entertaining, and I was like, hey, come be a guest on my podcast, so mine isn't a shit show next week. And they very thankfully said yes. So to get into some introductions here, like I said, even though Patty's been on the podcast before, I'm going to first go to you, Patty, because, again, this is, how I was introduced to the rest of the people here. Patty, how did you get introduced to Seri, Shank, and DJ, and everybody over at that community?
Well, I was part of a separate gaming community that DJ happened to be a part of as well, and we were playing a lot of early dev DayZ together, and we eventually we clicked, and we and several other people jumped from that and started our own called Hollow Points Gaming, and from there we were on again, off again, trying to grow the community, and for a little while we ended up going silent, and we DJ and I being probably one of maybe 3 or 4 people who were still around trying to get the thing going, said let's try streaming. So we did, and I believe that's how DJ ended up meeting Shank and Seri through his streaming, and I incidentally met them through him.
All right, excellent. So it was really just friends of friends, happenstance. Everybody ended up finding each other.
And it always.
Yeah. And as Patty said, all of these guys stream, with exception to Seri, because apparently she does not enjoy copious amounts of money. Because as you can tell, she is indeed a female, and we all told her the other night you would blow us all out of the fucking water if you started streaming. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. So I guess since you're kind of the focus on this one, Seri, let's go to you. Firstly, before actually joining Hollow Points Gaming, what got you into gaming? Now, I heard this story the other night as far as what got you into online gaming, but for those guys out there that have not heard this story, because it is very good, what got you into gaming?
Well, I never really was into gaming until, fairly recently compared to these guys anyway, especially.
You're not old, we get it.
I had a friend of mine who was completely into the World of Warcraft, and I teased him mercilessly about playing online games, and I thought, I was giving him a ration of crap, I must admit, until one night when we were at his house, and he literally forced me into his chair and forced me to create a character on his account in World of Warcraft. And of course, I was being obnoxious, and I created this little night elf druid named Azcrack because I'm just that obnoxious.
And I've always told people, because I played WoW for many years. I was a very hardcore raider, which most people that have seen me would never look at me and think, yeah, you play Warcraft. Because most people see me and they're like, oh, you're going to murder me and steal everything I have. But anyways, one of the greatest names I ever seen for an online character was from World of Warcraft. It was a blood elf, female blood elf pally named Lick My Crit. And I laughed for a solid 3.5, 4 minutes, to the point that tears were rolling down my face. But please continue.
Yeah, that's where my mindset was when I first started. It's like, so I spent the evening running around on Azcrack with my friend, and decided that I had made a serious mistake in my generation of online gamings beforehand. And from that point forward, he was insistent that I play the game, which included a copy of the game and various snacks and sundries for while you're sitting in front of the computer, including a small package of tissues, which he told me was for when you've been sitting at the computer so long that you don't realize that you're drooling all over yourself, so you need to clean yourself up. And he called me over to his house. I went to his house. He opened the door, shoved this bag into my hands, looked at me and said, "Go home, install the game, and I'll see you online in 20 minutes. Slammed the door in my face.
For the sake of the story, I'm very glad you used the verbiage bag instead of sack. Like, he shoved his sack into my hand and was like, play with it.
Play with it.
And yes, guys, I did play WoW for many years, probably 6 or 7 years, somewhere around there. But I haven't played in, probably just about the same amount of time, 6 or 7 years. But yes, I was very serious. And, like Seri said, a joke about when you're sitting there drooling. I mean, it is a joke, but it is semi-serious. Like, when I was...
yeah, it's not that far from a joke.
Yeah, when I was hardcore raiding, like when I was in a progression guild, on our progression nights, it was nothing for us to raid for 6-7 hours. There was one night where we raided for almost 9 hours straight, dropping a boss because it was a server first. So yeah, it's pretty easy to get wrapped up in and take pretty seriously. Like, some of the guys know, like, I was one of the top 50 rep pallies in the US. And that was quite literally, 60 hours a week that I was putting into it. Hence why I don't play anymore. So Seri, that got you kind of introduced to the world of online asshats, as I call them.
Yes.
And for some god-awful reason, you stuck with it. And then you ended up hooking up with the rest of the guys at Hollow Points. How did that come about? How did you get introduced to DJ and Shank and all these guys?
Well, through my series of trying out different games and such like that, I ended up playing a game called Black Desert Online. And I got a random invite to a guild that was there, and in that guild was ShankTheNood. And we became friends in Black Desert Online, and we both left the guild and kind of separated from BDO and started discovering that we had other interests that were similar in other games that we like to play, and we just became good friends. And I kind of started like watching his stream, and he included me every once in a while on his stream to play games with him, and we started playing all sorts of other stuff together. And then I ended up meeting DJ through Shank, and then henceforth Tin/Patty through DJ. So they kind of adopted me into their clan.
That was like genuine happenstance. Like, oh, some random motherfucker sent me a guild invite, and here I am a few years later.
It really was. It was completely random. I had no idea who the person was. Said, why the hell not? Ended up making a very good friend.
Those were always like one of the most annoying things in WoW, was the random guild invites. So much so that I shut it off to where people could not send me guild invites.
Guild invites, yeah.
So moving on down the line then, next to Shank, what got you into gaming?
Well, I remember it was a very long time ago. I actually had a childhood friend that he would invite me down and we would play Nintendo, and it kind of stuck from there. I ended up getting my own console, and just over the years, Jesus Christ, I would be humiliated to know how much money I've actually spent on video games. But more recently, I was active duty Air Force for about 10.5 years and was still a game player then. And it's always kind of been part of life, go out, do your responsibilities, and then come home and turn into a potato, bag of Cheetos, a Red Bull, and you just forget the rest of the night. So
I'm gonna say nothing as I'm sitting here with a bag of Doritos and a can of Monster. Fuck all of you.
Point proven.
And that's the other night when we were talking, I had mentioned that I seen in your stream in the background your pretty photo there. So we have a little bit in common there with the military side of things. And it's always good to, see another brother out there doing well. And so what got you have a lot of the same background as I do as far as like starting gaming. We're around the same age range, kind of started out with the same things, Nintendos and Ataris and Sega and all of that coming up through the years. And what brought you into the Hollow Points community? What got you there?
Well, chasing just a bit of a rabbit. I was medically retired back in 2009. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and so I came home and I was awarded partial disability. I think I got 60% from the VA, and so I continued working. I was a bartender for a while. Went back and worked in retail, and eventually I got 100%. And I said, you know what? I'm in my mid-30s. I'm taking an opportunity that most people only dream of. I'm going to stop working and I'm going to start streaming.
Mm-hmm.
And the streaming really kicked off last year in about October. And I made affiliate pretty quickly, and then I remember I joined kind of a networking community, and through that community I met DJ. And so one night I just I started, sitting and chatting with him during his broadcast. He is a slobbering Titanfall fan, and so we had Titanfall 2 in common, and we became really fast friends. And he invited me to his Discord, and that's where I met Tony. And then Seri was, as she said, she and I had been friends in BDO for some time, and then we started playing other video games together, and she had kind of been along for my ride on Twitch. And so when I came into Hollow Points, I was like, guys, you got to get Seri in here too. She's a lot of fun. And so the four of us have kind of come together, and then just recently we started talking about, we want to make this a serious thing. And so we started working on Hollow Points as a podcast, and we do stuff together all the time, just as four gamers. And one of these days we're going to get a webcam for Seri and a controller for Seri, and she's going to become a serious streamer like the rest
You'll
of
be
us.
a real
No,
gamer.
I get the feeling like one of these days she's going to open up her front door and there's just going to be a package there that says "Open me."
Install this camera. We'll see you in 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We'll see you online in 20 minutes.
So, I mean, it really is just pure happenstance that all of you got together, pretty much. And that's honestly the kind of beauty of online communities like that. People come and go, as always. There's always a lot of attrition in online communities. But it's great when you can click with that one group of people who, you're going to be around each other pretty much on a daily basis for years on end, and what's going on in each other's lives. Oftentimes people actually meet up and shit like that, and we have a lot of guys like that in this community. Obviously when there's a couple hundred people, you're not going to know everyone on a name-by-name basis, but there's going to be that group of, 10, 20 of you that everybody knows what's going on with each other, and so on and so forth. So it's always nice to see other communities that are doing the same thing, and keeping that passion alive for gaming. So the next thing I want to talk about is, and because this is a question I've gotten a couple times, is names or handles, if you will. Because I've had people ask me, where did the name War Games Inc. come from? And I actually had it as a competition one night for a giveaway. I gave someone a copy of ArmA 3, the first person that could guess where my name came from. And for those of us older people that will remember it, War Games was an epic fucking movie back in the day, starring Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick. Yes.
Exactly. Would you like to play a game? Which they actually referenced in fucking one of the Captain America movies, and I'm pretty sure I had a nerd boner for like the next 3 hours. Probably like 90% of the people that watched that movie had no idea what the fuck they were talking about. But yeah, so that's where War Games came from, and I just threw the ink on there because I didn't want it to just be straight up War Games, so that people, were like searching for me and finding Matthew Broderick and like, what the fuck? I do not want to play thermonuclear warfare.
Would you like to play tic-tac-toe instead?
Yeah. So that's where my name came from. Obviously, something from my childhood. So I want to find out from you guys where you came up with your names from. So Patty, where does the Tin Man come from?
So back in college, I was rooming with my best friend, and we were avid gamers. We were up till all godly hours in the morning playing games. And what would happen is, we just shortened each other's names. So I was T-Man and he was D-Man. And it turned into actually where it was like T-Man, where it just was said so quickly, just sounded like Tin Man. So it eventually evolved into Tin Man, and me being the theater nut that I am, I just kind of adopted it with the the love of the Wizard of Oz. So I ran with it, and it turned into the Tin Man, and it's been my handle since. It's been my handle for almost 5 years now.
Okay, so it's something that, kind of naturally occurred. You didn't just, sit there and think one day, oh, does this sound cool? No, that's kind of lame. Does this sound cool?
It was
No.
something that naturally evolved into itself, and it was lucky happenstance that it was something that I kind of cherish. So.
Okay, and Seri, what about you? Because I doubt you named yourself after an Apple product.
No.
I mean, unless you're just a big Steve Jobs fan, which if you are, I guess more power to you.
No, actually, technically, I guess I have 2 handles. Seri is the one that's most commonly used because that's the one I've used the longest. My first one was Cynthia, which is what my Twitch name is. So if you see Cynthia, that's Seri as well. But Seri is actually short for Ceridwen, which is one of the first characters I created in another game that I played for many, many years with numerous people, and she was my main character, and everyone called me Seri because it was short for Ceridwen, who is, by the way, a Celtic goddess. So yes, I named myself after a goddess. What can I say?
There you go.
Didn't realize it would stick so well.
Hey, one of my nephews is named Loki. Another one is named Riggs McLean. So,
Excellent.
Yeah, tell me we didn't grow up watching rated R movies.
Riggs.
Yeah, my father's idea of parental control was when there was a nude scene, he'd fucking slap you in the arm and say, "Titties."
Oh, yeah, paying attention, son.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm too old for this yippee-ki-yay.
Yeah. And so Shank, what about you? Outside of the fact that I'm guessing we have very similar personalities and that you just want to stab stupid people, where does ShankTheNood come from?
It's funny actually you say it that way. When I was in the Air Force, one of my supervisors, right after I made staff sergeant, he came down and he was kind of briefing me on how he expected business to be run, and at one point he came down and he said, "All right, Jimmy the Shank, here we go." And I stopped and I thought, and I was like, "Jimmy the Shank? What the fuck am I?
Did I join the mob and I don't know?"
Yeah. And so
Man for the mob.
Shit, this just became blood in, blood out.
That's right.
Damn.
So when I started streaming, my buddy, he said, I love names that have dual meanings. And so we were sitting there, I was racking my brain, I was trying to come up with something, and just kind of not even thinking about it, I just said ShankTheNood. And he said, "Dude, that's perfect." He's like, You're horrible at video games." And I was like, "Yeah, okay. I mean, I know that."
Thanks, dick.
Thanks so much.
He said, "So you can be ShankTheNood, and if you get lucky and you kill somebody, you just ShankTheNood." Like, oh my God. Okay, fine. I'll use it. So it was born kind of from my nickname in the military, and then just because there's that dual meaning there of sometimes I'm bad and sometimes I actually kill the bad. So we decided to run with it. So it's not a long-standing thing, but it's certainly entertaining.
I certainly like to when you used to label your streams literally the worst player ever in whatever game you were playing at the time.
And that's actually one of the things I want to talk about next is, when it comes to streaming, obviously something that's very important to me. It's what I do. And you guys, as you said, are starting to take it more seriously and try and kind of get yourselves out there more. I think we talked about this last time you were on the podcast, Patty, but I'm not sure. What made you want to start streaming? What made you, say, "Hey, I want people to, see what I'm doing. I want to open myself up to the online criticism of fucking keyboard kickboxers"?
Well, I mean, I got into PC gaming kind of late. I was originally a console gamer, and I was converted.
As all
fairly
people
recently. It's true. I mean, all hail the PC master race. But No, so basically it was just something that I saw other people doing, and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. Like I can have an audience when I play video games. That's pretty freaking sick. So being the attention whore that I am, I set up, OBS, and was like, all right, so I can just do something kind of simple, just full screen the game and have a picture of myself in the corner, and I went with that. And after just thinking like, oh, I'll be an instant internet sensation. No.
I think that's what everyone
Overnight
believes. Like,
sensation.
I'll instantly have thousands of people watching. Fuck, I've been live for 18 hours and nobody has said hi.
Exactly. And
Nobody
I always
knows
had
I
people pop
exist.
in. I always had people pop in and not say a goddamn word, and I was like, oh, I hate those people.
Lurkers.
And no, not even lurkers. It was like, I'm here for 2 seconds. I don't like what I see. Gone. And
Yeah.
that was kind of discouraging. So I kind of left it alone for a little while. And then actually this past, what I want to say, September, when things got actually really kind of kicking off in the unit for when I joined the unit, I was I just got started, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try streaming again because I wanted to stream the ArmA stuff because I felt like this was actually a lot of fun and might be good content. And so I kind of revamped myself and put like 20-30 hours into building OBS how I wanted it and how I wanted all my stuff to go. And I was like, all right, this looks great. And after my first stream, I had a couple people pop in and talk, and I was like, okay, well, this is a start. And so I just started playing all the games that I normally play and just turn it on the stream. And from there, it's just kind of like second nature. Just hit the stream button now and just kind of do my own thing and play the game.
Right. And we had some people in chat asking what your Twitch was, and it is indeed the Tin Man with a 1 and a 4 because he doesn't know how to spell. And please, guys, feel free to drop actual links in the chat to your Twitch channels. Link them every fucking 2 minutes if you want to. I don't give a shit. But everybody go show some love to these guys, except for Seri, because she doesn't stream, because again, she does not like copious amounts of money.
I apparently need to change my mind on this subject very quickly.
Actually, I'm pretty sure your mind has already been changed for you. And
Seems as such.
And like Patty said, I mean, most all of us, especially those of us that are older, I mean, we started out in console gaming because you couldn't get a fucking PC. I talked a couple of podcasts back. I remember the first time a member of my family got a computer. I still remember the fucking cow print box and shit. My uncle bought it. And he got it at a discount because he worked at ABC
Gateway?
Warehouse. Yeah, it was a Gateway PC. And he got it at a discount, and it was like $800 some. And so like PC gaming wasn't really a thing. You had your genuine floppy disks is what the games were on, and it wasn't
Oregon
really
Trail.
Yeah, it wasn't really gaming back then. PCs could not compete with consoles back then. And then obviously now, as everybody says, PC master race. The thing you have to also keep into mind though is I could go out right now and buy both consoles that are, the two big consoles, Xbox and PS4. I could go buy both of them for what it costs for one of my video cards. Or for
Goddamn
one
refiners.
video
Right.
card, Because right now, especially because of fucking douchebag Bitcoin mining shit, to go buy my 1080 right now is like over $1,000. It's ridiculous. But that's the thing you have to keep in mind when it comes to PC gaming. Yes, we have the best graphics. We, can do things that consoles can't do. That costs fucking money. It's not cheap to get into. When I've talked about it before, when I first started taking PC gaming seriously and actually went out and bought a computer for gaming, specifically for gaming. I paid $500 for the tower. That was probably 5 or 6 years ago. Now, between everything that I have, if you guys click that specs thing and down below the picture in Twitch, it'll take you to the PC part picker where you can buy every single part that I have. It's just over $5,000 for everything that I have sitting here. That's not counting games, and I mean I have like 80 some games on Steam alone. So it's not exactly cheap to get into. Obviously, you don't need to go out and drop $5,000 like what I've done on everything here. But that's accumulated over a few years, you know, slowly upgrading piece by piece by piece. And I actually, the other night, during your guys' podcast, I mentioned something about that in the chat, about how I basically justify it by saying it's a work expense. You know, I just dropped like $700 some on my PC, and I was like, it's a work expense. And somebody said something along the lines of, if you spend $5,000 or some shit like that on a computer, you're never getting laid. And that's why I love that I am quite literally the luckiest person on the planet, which is why I don't play the lottery, because I've already used all my luck. Because I can say, well, I went out and spent that $5,000 and I have a kid to prove you wrong. So there you go.
There is physical evidence of mine getting laid.
There is indeed spawn out there. So
it's happened, folks.
Yeah, at least once.
At least once.
So when it comes to back to streaming, though, again, Seri does not stream. Why do you not stream, Seri? The hell?
Let the interrogation begin.
Yeah, is it a conscious decision that you do not like having money thrown at you like a virtual stripper, or is it just you don't?
No. I didn't realize that I could have money thrown at me like a virtual stripper.
Yes. And you don't even have to show skin. That's the fucked up part. See, if we show cleavage, we get banned. If women show cleavage, they get large donations.
Large donations. Well, crap, I've been doing this wrong. I guess I have to start streaming.
But the reason I ask is when I started streaming, I was very lucky to have Drum in my corner helping me out and telling me how to do things and, sending people my way and shit. So that's kind of why I made the conscious decision to start streaming and start producing content, because I knew I already had someone there backing me up and would help me out and help me get views and stuff like that. So initially I wasn't even going to stream. I didn't really give a shit about it. But I had more and more people telling me, hey, you should stream. People would find the stupid shit you say entertaining. So I started doing it, and sure enough, you fucking happy half-tards started watching me for whatever reason. Because, again, I still don't understand how the fuck you guys will sit here and listen to me talk for 2 hours and say you're entertained. But you do. So, is streaming something that you're even interested in? Like, do you find enjoyment out of, just talking to random fucking people in the chat and letting them see what you're doing? Or is it just one of those like, oh, great, now I'm getting my fucking arm twisted to do this stupid shit?
It is not the latter. I don't feel like I'm getting my arm twisted to do this stupid shit, because I'm known for doing stupid shit all the time anyway on my own.
Yeah.
But I guess it's because, I don't know, I never even really thought about it until I started hanging around with Shank and DJ and Tin, so I know I'd at least have 3 viewers.
Yeah. Well, again, you got boobs, you're going to do fine.
I got boobs. I do have those. The power of boobs.
And the guys in chat say it's the voice, which again is why I don't run a webcam, because yes, I admit I have a voice for radio, but I also have the face for it. So that's why I don't run a webcam.
That's my fear as well. It's like I don't know about being on camera because I am so aware of it on me all the time that I would feel the necessity to be like doing something ridiculous. So it's like, oh, okay, just don't watch me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's honestly, especially when people first start out streaming, I think that's a lot of their hang up, is they're so conscious of the camera being there. And a lot of times they'll just sit there and look at it and not say anything or do anything. They're just sitting there looking at the camera, and it's like, all right, dude, you're fucking creeping me out now. Like, you've got a whole rape eyes thing going on. Like, just play your fucking game, all right?
Rape eyes.
But once you get comfortable with it, and I guess I can't really talk from experience because I don't stream with a camera. But once you see someone that's comfortable with it, they don't sit there and just stare at the camera, you know, they just go on about their normal day. And if they're addressing someone directly, yeah, sometimes they'll look into the camera, which is actually the other night during the podcast, Shank, I can't even remember what the hell it was you were talking about, but you were like, I'm going to look right in the camera for this and say this. I started laughing my ass off. Because it was just, it was great crowd play. It was fucking hilarious. But to, I guess, continue on with that, you know, Shank, what got you into streaming? What made you finally say, all right, I'm going to go put myself out there and let someone watch?
I think it was just, it was something when my disability got readjusted to 100% total and permanent, I said, you know what? There's not many people who get this opportunity at this point in their life. I mean, there's so many people who, you know, they scramble to, you know, try to make money, try to set up for retirement, try to, you know, build their careers and whatnot. And I got extremely lucky. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to give this a try. And it's funny you talk about having the voice and the face. I actually have, over the years, I've had several people tell me, "Oh my God, Jimmy, you have the perfect voice for radio," or you know, and sometimes it's random people. Even now, when I'm streaming with my camera on, they're like, "Is it okay if I tell people that I know the perfect voice for radio?" Like, oh, all right, thanks.
Yeah, and that's when it's
both, man. Oh my
that's
gosh.
when it's inevitably followed up by, and the face for it too. Please turn off the fucking
face
camera.
for it too, yeah. So I don't know. Like, I mean, maybe in order for me to get more viewers, I just need to come up with more verbal content and just shut the goddamn camera off. So,
Well, I've told everyone, as far as us dudes go, you know, if you want people to apparently think you sound good, I'm like, it's smoke like a pack and a half of Marlboros every day for fucking 20 years and you're good to go, dude, because that trick worked for me.
The secret is out.
the secret is out, ladies and gentlemen. The nicotine industry is your surefire way into online radio.
Yeah, and as we have the fucking Murlocs attacking us.
Oh,
Jesus, Seri.
That's my phone.
It's been like 6 years and I still know what the fuck it sounds like. Little bastards.
Nightmare still, doesn't it?
God, yes.
Her cell phone brings us hours of enjoyment when she's a very popular person.
Yeah. But yeah,
My phone makes a lot of noises, a lot of different types of noises.
basically the way I say it is, you know, if you really want that good radio voice, all you need is 3 things in large doses: nicotine, protein, and caffeine. All right, all the enes you need. And, you know, I'm not yet sponsored by Marlboro, Jack Links, or Monster, but if anybody's out there saying I'm your fucking man, I've been putting your products, you know, on Front Street for fucking couple of decades now.
Gotta quit my other job as a phone sex operator.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that to get off off the
Brewer,
floor.
the thing is, like, instead of having the camera on you, have the camera on the little mini fridge in the microwave sitting next to you.
That's it. That's how fucking
placement.
that's how Vern got that fucking Hot Pockets deal, I'm telling you. Motherfucker. So, and you know, you'd mentioned that you were very lucky. And honestly, after what my family has just gone through with my mother, and again, I can't thank all of you guys out there enough for your support in that. You know, to hear someone, and like you said, you know, looking at you, you would never think that, you know, you have any issues or anything like that. But to hear someone that has been diagnosed with MS say, I was incredibly lucky, and now I get to, you know, make a living playing video games, or at least, you know, try to make a living playing video games. Like, that's incredible to hear. And the reason I bring that up is, obviously, the world of online gaming is just continuing to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, when you're having fucking esport competitions with $1 million top prizes and shit, it's fucking here to stay. More people last year watched Twitch on a daily basis than syndicated television. like your network channels of, you know, fucking Roseanne reruns and shit. More people were watching Twitch than that.
We're taking
And you may
over,
think, well,
apparently.
no shit, you know, nobody wants to see Roseanne. It's fucking 30 years old. Okay, one, Roseanne was a good fucking show, aside from the last episode that was stupid. Two, it shows that it's a viable thing. Obviously, it's viable when you got fucking douchebags like fucking Cream Pie McCutie Pie out there making stupid amounts of money. But it's becoming more and more viable, and you can make a living out of it. And, you know, it is a huge chance to take, and I've talked about this before on one of the podcasts, that, you know, it's one of the most terrifying decisions to make, especially when you have a family, to say, yeah, I'm going to try and make a living out of this. And even myself, I'm still, you know, trying to make a living out of this. But it is one of those things where you can't really jump directly into it. And like Patty said, you know, expect to be an internet star. You know, I've been doing this for a few years now, and I'm still not a fucking internet star. But I have been incredibly lucky, thanks to a lot of you guys. And I was lucky in the first place that I had the chance to be able to step back and say, I want to try this. I want to be able to do this as a living. And I mean, that opportunity still arose because of the work I did years ago for KBR. So if it wasn't for that, I would have never gotten to do this, honestly.
I do want to interrupt here just a second and go back to something that... oh, hang on. Damn it, chat, cooperate.
Liquid.
Stop talking so much, you fuckers.
Liquid669, this one's for you. I, for one, welcome our new alien overlords.
Oh, Jesus. He's already pandering to the crowd. Damn it, you people should love him. God damn it, all of my viewers are about to go to him. Shit. What have I done?
Shit, I better mute for the rest of the podcast.
Right? Get the fuck out of here. How dare you steal my thunder?
No, that's Soto's job.
Yep. No, Soto is the thunder. He bringeth thy thunder. So the next thing I want to go into, you know, speaking about streaming and stuff like that, when most people start streaming, they get kind of, I don't want to say necessarily pigeonholed, but they get known for a singular game. I am known for ArmA. That's, you know, that's what people come to my channel to see, is to see me play ArmA and yell at people. Honestly, that's pretty much it. Like, nobody gives a fuck about the gameplay. I could be sitting there spinning in circles all night. As long as I'm calling one person a retard throughout that stream, somebody's gonna be happy. That's all they really give a shit about. So it's, and you know, I've watched a lot, or I've read a lot of articles with, you know, full-time streamers and stuff, and talking about how difficult it is to get into what is known as variety streaming, where you stream a variety of different games. And from personal experience, it is very difficult to get into. You know, when I stream ArmA, I can have 60, 80 people watching, and then I could immediately go from that into an Assetto Corsa race, which is something that I love, that I really do for fun, and there'll be 8 people watching because they don't give a fuck. Like I said, they want to see me yell at someone, not drive a virtual car and yell at myself. So
And yell at myself.
yeah. So I'll just kind of put this out as like an open question. Have you guys kind of experienced the same thing in your streaming, that people, you know, really show up for one game specifically, and other games it's just kind of like, meh, I don't really care?
I mean,
I can't answer that question.
God damn it, Siri.
God damn it, Siri! You need a
Siri.
streaming record.
That is the
You guys
most
should just get a
common uttered
sound.
phrase. God
Yeah,
damn it,
you
Siri.
you guys should just get a soundboard that's, God damn it, Siri.
God damn it, Siri. It is the most
Done.
uttered phrase
Done.
amongst all of them.
Next Safety's Off podcast, I will have it ready.
Oh, Jesus.
God damn it, Siri!
God damn it, Siri.
We can even do accents if you really want it.
Oh God, no. Oh, and very quickly, Music, brother, thank you for that 2-month resub. Appreciate the continued support, as always. And please, go on, Shank, I think you were about to answer my question.
You know, as somebody who streams, well, I mean, I play a ton of video games, and I'm still really trying to find something that people get excited about. I mean, if you go and look, like one of the first things that I read about variety streaming was sometimes you have to play what you need to play in order to be able to play what you want to play. And if you look at the top 2 rows of most streamed games on
fucking
Twitch,
suck.
They suck. every one of them, I'm like, I don't want to invest 5 minutes in this thing. I mean, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, CS:GO, League of Legends, Dota 2, and you know, all the other games that kind of fit into those molds. I'm like, I have zero interest in playing these. And so what I started thinking about was, for me, I have always loved isometric games. Diablo, Crusader, Grim Dawn, Torchlight. And so this year I've kind of been thinking that's the kind of stuff that I think I want to focus on, because there's a lot of people who play those games, but this is kind of a budding concept for me right now. So we'll see how it goes, but yeah, I think isometric games are going to be where I kind of stick, because I enjoy them the most.
Real quick, while we're kind of on that, and it's great to hear that. Firstly, what are your thoughts on D3? Secondly, did you see the interview that they did with the original developer of Diablo, with him saying how happy he was with what Diablo 3 has become?
You know, Diablo 3 is one of those controversial topics. It's usually when you say Diablo 3 is amazing, somebody will inevitably say that Diablo 2 was better.
Well,
and you know, there's going to be the hardcores who say that Diablo 1 was the, you know, greatest isometric game ever made, blah 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 blah. For me, I bought Diablo 3 when it released, and at the beginning I was like, what the fuck is this?
It was not, it was not a true successor to Diablo.
What have I purchased?
It wasn't, but once they announced the adventure mode, they started with Nephilim rifts and greater rifts, and with the expansion, and I think there's more discussion about another expansion coming. I honestly think that Blizzard has brought Diablo 3 into a niche of its own. The Vertigo in chat is saying Diablo 2 was the greatest debate over. I cannot say that you are incorrect, because Diablo 2 gave me memories, both good and bad. Diablo 3 it's got kind of its own good and bad memories for me. So
own thing. It definitely. And I agree. It stands apart. To me, it's not a sequel to Diablo. It could be called something completely different, and it would still be a good game. And yeah, like you said, when it first released, it was horrible. Like the Real Money Auction House and shit, like that was just that was like lawsuits and headaches waiting to happen. I was like, you guys are fucking stupid. But yeah, as time went on, like especially once Reaper of Souls, that's when they really hit their stride. And like you said, there is talks of another expansion, or even potentially a whole nother IP or a whole nother Diablo coming out. You know, we'll see at BlizzCon. Hopefully, a lot of people were expecting an announcement this year at BlizzCon, and nothing. So we'll see. But yeah, that's why I brought that up, because Diablo 3 is, like you said, one of those kind of controversial topics. But over time, it has really came into its own, and a lot, like I had talked about it with somebody. Actually, I think it was you guys last Friday when we had mentioned Rainbow Six Siege. You know, when that game first launched, it fucking plummeted quick, and now, like, it's more popular now than when it first came out, because they've put so much time and effort into it. They really brought that game back from the dead.
Yeah, Ubisoft has kind of been a gaming industry whipping boy for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm
Sometimes
hoping
it
that
is
this year will show
justified.
improvement.
Yeah, sometimes it's justified. Sometimes I don't think it's. I think it's more so people just hopping on the fucking bandwagon because they don't feel like walking their own fucking path.
Right?
But, you know, is what it is, I guess. So, to get back to the topic at hand, what about for you, Patty? Do you find it kind of difficult to break into new games? Do you find, you know, guys only really want to watch one thing?
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with Shank that I'm still floundering around trying to find the right, I guess what you call home-based game. And I do consider myself a variety streamer. I play a variety of different things, between Grand Theft Auto 5, Stardew Valley, and like other like indie games and stuff that's kind of like semi-popular, just to kind of test water. So like it's not like DJ who got his majority of his audience from Titanfall 2. Yeah. And so like myself and Shank are really working on like where our audiences kind of lie, and then everything else kind of after that is better.
Hey, you got a suggestion in
Yeah,
chat there.
I was gonna say I kind of agree with Riley. Yeah, I mean Riley might have a fucking idea there.
Wait, there's a Hello Kitty online? Shit, guys, be right back.
I was gonna say, Shank, I thought you were one of the backers in early access.
Don't get me started on backing in early access.
Don't tell them all my secrets.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I actually just requested a almost $200 refund from Robert Space Industries Cloud9 or whatever the fuck it is.
Why?
For Jesus, what the hell is the name of that game?
Star Citizen?
Star Citizen. Yep. Wow. That's how much I care about it at this point now. Yep. I was a big backer in that game, and I thought that when that came out, that was going to be a big deal for streaming for myself, because I've got a lot of
you mean
stuff
when
in that
it
game.
does come out, not when it came out. When it does come out.
At this point, it's now an if it comes out.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it definitely will. It's just going to be. I think. See. Cloud Imperium kind of shot themselves in the foot, but kind of didn't. Obviously, releasing all of this information and, you know, keeping people updated week by week, it's very good for game development. It shows a lot of transparency, which I love when it comes to game developers. And obviously, it got them the funding. It's the biggest crowdfunded thing ever. But it also shot them in the foot because people are seeing that 4, 5, 6 years of work that goes in the background that we normally don't see on a game. Even early access games, with the exception of fucking DayZ, it's like, okay, here's early access. It's going to be released in a year or 2 years. And everybody's like, okay. As we're Star Citizen's like, okay, here's what we have. It's going to be released in a few years, but we're going to show you every single step of the process. So, again, it's been nice. I like that they're doing that because it does show a lot of transparency. But it's also been bad for them because it's like, well, why in the fuck are we waiting so long? Because people don't really think about the fact, even early access games that you play, most of them have been in development for a few years. You just didn't see that shit.
This is true.
And that's,
and we do live in the generation of instant gratification.
Yeah, I want it now.
Nobody wants to wait.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not to like fucking, you know, toe the rope of Star Citizen or anything like that. Like I do have it. I have technically backed it. I only put 60 into it. And I am excited for it. But that's my personal viewpoint on it, is that, you know, I appreciate it, but they kind of fuck themselves in the same process. So when it comes to the variety streaming, like Shank said, you find yourself having to play games that you don't necessarily want to, and that's an excellent point to make, because as he said, you know, you look at the top few games on Twitch, most of those games require a lot of skill, a lot of time put into them to, you know, be good at. And let's face it, that's what people want to see. They want to see people that are good at the game and, you know, do well. And most of us that play multiple games don't have time to put into all of that. 2, you may just not be interested in that style of gameplay, which is, you know, what it is for me with like League of Legends and shit like that. I don't give a shit. But you do end up playing games that you don't necessarily want to play. You know, I was talking about this before, that if a new game comes out, I pretty much have to buy it, at least just to check it out and show it to you guys. So, you know, if you want to hear my opinion on it, that, not that my opinion really counts as shit. But that's, you know, that was the gig with, oh hell no, I can't even remember the name. The new one where you get to shoot fucking Nazis. The hell was
Call
that?
of Duty World
Call
War
of
II.
Duty.
No, not that. Yeah, that's actually a perfect. Okay, that's even a better goddamn example. Okay.
Oh shit! I just gave him another
Yeah.
soapbox.
Yeah, you didn't give me a soapbox. You gave me the whole fucking truck of boxes. All right.
Oh, dear.
Here we go.
So, a lot of you guys already know my disdain for that game that is known as Call of Duty World War II. Because that is a very near dear place to my heart because of family. And what they did with the historical accuracy in that genuinely pissed me the fuck off, to the point, like, had I met that fucking piece of shit developer that was at E3 and said this is the most historically accurate game we ever made, I would have punched him right in the throat. That aside, I bought that game purely to show it to you guys and, you know, give you my opinion on it. Had I not been a streamer, I would have never bothered with it. I have no interest in it whatsoever. Did not want to check it out. But I bought it to show to you guys, and that's not me like trying to play martyrdom, like I threw myself on the sword for you guys, you're welcome. No, that's just, it's part of the job. Yeah, Wolfenstein. That was it. That was another one that I was just like, the fuck, are you kidding me? Which,
Oh
have
my
any
God,
of you
if
guys
somebody
played
had said the
Wolfenstein?
new- Yes. Yes, I
Okay,
have.
the submarine that you get in, all right? Part way, like very early on in the game, the sub that you're in ends up getting attacked by fucking whatever. Okay, right? You have to go in and clear out the Nazis that are in the sub that you've been in for months now. And
Yeah.
I damn near had an aneurysm when I went in and started clearing out these like 40-some fucking Nazis that are hiding in a submarine, because I'm sorry, like, I know it's supposed to be a big sub, but like, I've seen 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Extraordinary Gentlemen, the Nautilus, all of that. Like, them are some big fucking submarines, all right? There is not a submarine that could ever be made where 40 motherfuckers could hide somewhere behind a goddamn set of lockers and you would not notice. Like,
I know.
I've stayed overnight on a submarine. Somebody farts on that motherfucker and you know it. Let alone fucking 40 dudes living in that son of a
big
bitch.
tin can for crying out loud.
Yeah, exactly. So that just, that ruined the game for me, aside from other just horrible shit. But anyways,
Like,
that's,
realism?
yeah.
No.
that's kind of the place you find yourself when you're streaming, is like, oh God, I have to play this game. Now, and somebody in chat had mentioned Kingdom Come, Riley, mentioned Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is very big right now because it's new. All of the fucking people that stream are going to buy that game and check it out because it's the fucking new hotness. I bought it, played it for a little over an hour. It infuriated me. I shut it off and got a refund. Thank God Steam does refunds. And that's why my stream was only like an hour, hour and a half. I was keeping it under that fucking 2-hour mark for that purpose. But thankfully Steam has refunds, because I cannot play that game. It pisses me off too much.
You know,
But-
and bringing that point up, the other thing too that I would say as a variety streamer, and it's kind of it's a pervasive issue across everybody who's a variety streamer. You have to spend that much more money in disappointment
Oh yeah.
to find success. And I mean, you know, variety streamers, they're like, yeah, we're gonna play all kinds of games, we're gonna have all kinds of fun, and in $500 spent, they, you know, like $20 on an indie title that nobody's ever heard of will be the popular bit.
Yeah.
And $480 you're either getting in refunds or you've spent too much time, so you just shit out of luck.
Yeah, and that's like, you know, ArmA is a perfect example for me. Obviously, I spend a lot of time in ArmA. Even off stream, I spend time in ArmA, even though it's very rare that I'm in ArmA and I'm not streaming. But, you know, you can pick ArmA up on sale for like $20-$30 with the Apex DLC. Okay. I've spent over 2,000 hours in ArmA. Granted, that's you know, granted that's because of the 506, but a lot of that I stream, and that's where most of you motherfuckers come from, is watching my ArmA streams. So I'd say, yeah, that $30 can pay off pretty well. You know, and it's the same, not necessarily the same with Assetto, because again, Assetto Corsa is not as popular on my channel, but as far as my enjoyment, my gameplay, I was just talking to Yogi earlier today. I bought Assetto Corsa a year ago. Almost exactly a year ago, I got it. I already have over 700 hours in Assetto Corsa in a year. Jesus. For a game that's $60. I'd say that's pretty good. That's pretty damn good value for money.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, real quick, did you end up buying all your like driving peripherals after you purchased Assetto?
Yes and no. I bought Assetto Corsa, but I knew immediately that I was going to be getting a new steering wheel and stuff, because I already had old beat-up G27 that I didn't really use very often. It was just kind of sitting there collecting dust. And I got Assetto Corsa to start racing with Soto, because Soto at least used to do a lot of sim racing. And when I bought it, I was like, well, I'm going to get a new wheel and shit, because this one's all old and beat up. So I offed my G27 because they were selling for ridiculous amounts of money because they stopped making them, and got a new wheel, a new set of pedals and stuff like that. And then I essentially became a meth addict and started just buying more and more shit. And that's why now I have, you know, a $500 or $600 steering wheel and, you know, like a $200 set of pedals and shit like that. And I bought a VR headset solely for that. That's the only game I play in VR. Well, like Project Cars 2 I've played in VR, but like driving sims, that's the only thing I've ever played in VR, aside from a couple of the, you know, little bullshit things that come with it. But that, again, like I've told guys before, you know, that justified that $350 of buying a Rift for me was because of how much time I spend in those games.
You know, a buddy of mine actually has a really interesting philosophy on how he'll justify spending money in a game. You know, he'll say like, okay, so this game is $60. He's like, am I going to get 30 hours of entertainment out of this game? His attitude is, if I can get, you know, a couple hours of entertainment, or if I can get like 1 hour of entertainment for every $2 spent, it's a good investment in a game. You know, and here you are, what'd you say, 700 hours in Assetto Corsa?
Yeah.
I'd say you got your money's worth.
Yeah, exactly.
Good,
or,
good
you know,
investment.
2,000 some hours in ArmA. Yeah, I guess I got my money's worth. But that's actually, you know, bringing up that point, a lot of people, well, apparently the Division has actually kind of turned the corner and has become a lot better. But a lot of people bagged on the Division because of, you know, Ubisoft. I'm not so quick to bag on it. Yes, endgame, there wasn't really much to do back when it first came out. The whole reason that I enjoyed the Division and say I got my money's worth, even though actually I don't think I technically paid for it. I think Franklin and those guys bought it for me for my birthday. Either way, it's worth the $60. Is when that game came out for 2, maybe 3 weeks, we were playing it nonstop. There was always 4 of us in a channel playing that game, and I had great times. I was laughing my ass off. We were having fun, and you know, it was, yeah, a good 60-70 hours worth of enjoyment. So it was easily worth that money to me. Yeah, it's not like, you know, The Witcher, where I've got 100 some hours into and multiple playthroughs. But when you actually think about it and think how minimal of an expense $60 is for X number of hours of entertainment, it's really not that big of a deal. Like I've told people, like, I spend more than $60 a month on fucking Monster. I can justify, $60 on a video game that's going to entertain me and my friends for however many hours.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, please.
I recently actually kicked back into the Division.
Tony, let me know when you want to play. It's installed and ready to go.
Dude, I'll be down anytime you want. I'll be here all weekend.
Oh, there you go. You guys heard it here first. They got to play.
Oh my god. You know how I love to shoot things.
At least Tony's not trying to convince me to play My Little Pony online this weekend.
Yep,
so
forget it. Barbie sanctioned cruise.
That's because Shank's like, fuck off. I've already got my single player campaign going. Leave me alone.
Yeah. No, I recently got back into it because I left it because of all the shit. Once they finally defined that, this is a looting game, and I was like, I like looters, but I lost a lot of hype for the game, so I left it. About 3 weeks ago, I think I went back and found my old save, and I'm like, I've still got story mission. Oh, look at all this stuff I still haven't done. So I started playing again just for the sake of finishing the game. And I have to say, I'm not completely done yet, but I'm loving it. I have new love for the Division, and I'm super stoked that that's the case, because I think I purchased the deluxe edition, whatever edition.
Oh,
God
damn
damn it! With
it.
all the good stuff, and I was like, man, this was such a goddamn waste. What the hell was I thinking? And now that I've actually gotten back into it and I'm starting to get hours out of it again, I'm stoked. So happy.
Yeah, and another one that was like that, again, Ubisoft, was Wildlands. And I am another person. I genuinely, I bagged on Wildlands pretty hard, even while we were playing it. There's some very bad problems there. Like when I have 2 foot of bullet drop from a 5.56 rifle, I'm like, what in the fuck are those bullets made out of? Like, is that uranium I'm firing, or what the fuck is going on? So that was a big problem for me, especially when they were toting about how realistic things would be. And but that being said, it was still good for a few hours of entertainment. We did still have some really cool moments and stuff like that, and it was good for the channel. A lot of people were watching it and shit like that, and it entertained me and Drum and Hammer and guys, for a little while. Yeah, there was some fucking parts that made me rage so much I wanted to punch a kitten, but it's still, I still got my money's worth in my eyes. So I think there's some genuinely enjoyable parts of the game. Like, I thought the Division, Wildlands is what the Division should have been. Not the RPG aspect of, having to hit guys wearing a parka 600 times with a fucking 7.62. Like, it should have been what
They
the
didn't
wild,
get through yet?
what, yeah. Like, god damn, what are those feathers? Like, Jesus Christ. An ostrich would be jealous.
Mithril?
An ostrich
Right.
would be jealous.
But, if
what
you
kind of
use...
Kevlar bird did that fucker kill?
Yeah, exactly. That son of a bitch, it was made by the
wild
DoD.
Kevlar dodo is now since gone extinct.
The wild Kevlar dodo.
But if you, at least for me, if you think about the Division and you just put the Wildlands gameplay into it, I think it would have been that much better of a game. Because a lot of people bagged on, the Division because of the visuals and the I guess, stereotypical Ubisoft downgrading at this point. Me personally, I still thought the game looked beautiful. Granted, I have a good PC, and I personally think that a lot of those people that were bitching and moaning like, oh, this game looks like shit. Yeah, well, it's because you're playing on a fucking 6-year-old PC. Upgrade your shit, and then you can start whining, because it looked beautiful for me. Even in my streams, like, it looked great. In that game, with a more realistic aspect to it, I think would have been amazing. Had they also brought in an actual cover, or left the cover-based shooting that they had in the Division, because I wish Wildlands would have had that. I wish it would have been more cover-based like the Division was. I think that's the one thing that was really missing from that. That and realistic fucking weapon handling.
Yeah.
I
But wait a
It
minute,
got
the
me into
Predator event was
Wildlands.
so real. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I was going to check out the Predator event, mostly because I wanted to see if they'd give me a fucking Vulcan minigun. And I never got confirmation on whether or not I get a Vulcan. And I was like, well, if I don't get a minigun, I don't give a shit. And if there's not someone there to say I ain't got time to bleed, then I'm not playing it. You know, and at no point in time ever playing the Wildlands did I ever hear any James Brown. So, like, this isn't the Predator.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, Riley brought up, you know, a lot of the open world games just simply don't have anything to do. And I think that is correct. Or it's the other extreme where there's so much to do, it becomes repetitive, which to me is kind of the downfall of games like Assassin's Creed or Far Cry, where, you know, it's like, oh, let's go climb another tower and unlock the map. Oh, let's go clear out another camp. I've done this 36 times. Oh, I've unlocked half the fucking map. Like, why do I have to climb a tower to read a fucking map? This is not magical. You know, it's again like Call of Duty, where I'm a tier 1 operator, but I don't know how to put a fucking red dot on my optic until I get more experienced. Like, dude, it's some fucking thumb screws. It's not difficult. Like, would you like me to show you how to do it?
just for actually, because I wanted to play Wildlands actually pretty badly. The fact that it was still $60 to this, I think to this day, there's still MSRP.
They've had a couple sales.
Yeah.
On it.
Well, I just went on the Humble Bundle right now, and it is 55% off. You can get it for $26.99.
Dude, that's cheaper than I got it for.
And Liquid, you are absolutely correct. That was Little Richard. That was not James Brown. Thank you. You are correct. I am messing up my flamboyant black soul artist. But you mentioned that it's still expensive. That is one thing that blows my fucking mind with Call of Duty. Like, I think it's Call of Duty Ghost or Black Ops 2. I think it's actually Black Ops 2 is still $60.
That's right.
Like, are you fucking kidding me? Are people still buying that?
Sales, the thing that pisses me off about their sales with Call of Duty is they still only do like 10 and 15% off.
It's like 12%. It's like,
yeah.
Fuck off, okay? Nobody gives a shit about 12%. You could try and sell a product that will increase your penis size by 12%, and half the motherfuckers aren't going to give a shit. And that's a big deal. It's just...
Again, I feel I can't comment on that.
Well, actually, your input would probably be more important than any of us. But it just... I can't believe that, you know... But... on the same side of the coin, or I guess the flip side of the coin, we're incredibly lucky when it comes to PC gaming. When you look at the Steam Winter Sale, fucking console players don't get that. Like, you go to GameStop and it's like, give me your soul. As to where, you know, Steam is like, hey, you know that game that just came out 2 months ago? It's 50% off now. Enjoy. Oh, by the way, just go ahead and have your mortgage company just send the check over to us.
Right?
And it, you know, that is one of the perks, I guess, of being a PC gamer is we do get sales pretty commonly. I mean, they just had their fucking, what was it, like Lunar Festival sale or some shit? I think like Steam is just sitting back like, all right, what kind of bullshit can we come up with to make a sale? Because we want some more money.
I think Shank emptied his bank account twice over during the sale.
God damn it, Steam.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I think we got a pagan holiday coming up next week. Do it!
Well, that's the nice thing about, you know, you just said it. PC gaming, it's the digital content. You don't have the physical disc. Yeah. You cut out that need for that retail store. And I mean, if you think of console gamers, I mean, really, what do they got? You know, Best Buy, Walmart, and GameStop, which is the Satan's anus of returns.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it first.
I'm sorry. If I pay like, you know, even if I pay for a fucking used game, $40 max, you know, if it was like, you know, a month and a half out, I return that game, I should get more than $5 back. I mean, their profit margins are atrocious. But like I just said, like, you go to Humble Bundle, which is fucking charity site for games. You purchase
Yeah.
like, you know, $12, $15 worth, and you the majority of it can go to charity for all, you know, for all they care. But you get almost $100, $120 worth of games. And who cares if you don't play them? You only paid $15.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how people end up with like 300 games in their Steam profile.
Oh, my library is atrocious. I need to start digging through that backlog.
Shut up, Siri.
But yeah, they're, you know, they are
damn it,
moving that way. You know, like guys were saying in the chat, you got the PlayStation Store and the Microsoft Store, and honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the Microsoft Store. I think a lot of it's kind of annoying, but I am a huge fan of the fact that there is no more Xbox exclusives. You know, if you have Windows 10, you can play any game that's on Xbox, or any game that comes out new on Xbox, which is genius. Granted, all of their exclusives are now dead because they killed Halo, they killed Gears of War. Nobody really gives a fuck about any other Xbox exclusive except maybe Forza. So they're not exactly up there in the market when it comes to exclusives like Sony is. I mean, Sony's fucking mopping the floor with them when it comes to exclusives. But, you know, at least you have that available to you to use the Microsoft Store. But the next thing I wanted to talk about, as we were, you know, talking about kind of developers and stuff, I wanted to bring this up, is you guys know that I am a huge fucking cheerleader for CD Projekt Red, the guys that make the Witcher series. You know, pretty much anytime we talk about them, you know, I'm virtually on my knees fucking blowing them, because they
Very
are.
friendly.
Hey, you know, I'm just saying, $20 is $20. I'm not gay, but, you know.
I don't care how I get it.
They truly are the darlings of game developers in most people's eyes. And some of you may have caught the story last week. I believe it was IGN or Game Informer, one of the big game publications, did an interview with the lead developer of the team, asking about paid content and games as a service and so on, because obviously that's been a huge story over the last year or so. You know, with the whole debacle that was fucking Battlefront, and we've talked about that. But
Dear Andrew Wilson, loot boxes still suck.
Ah, shit. I wound up the toy that is Shank.
Friend Shank.
But his response to the question when it comes to paid content was, I mean, it was so perfect. That long short of it is, in his mind, and you know, obviously the mind of the rest of the development team for CD Projekt Red, is, you know, if you pay for a AAA game, you know, you pay full price $60 for a game, you deserve a certain amount of content. And he said, you know, in their eyes, for their games, and he did say, you know, this is game dependent, but for them and their games, if you pay full price for a game, they expect you to get anywhere from 40 plus hours of gameplay from just the main storyline, with another 20 plus hours from the side stories. So you're talking 60 plus hours from the base game. He says that in our eyes is acceptable, or is what you should expect from a full price game. And we always try to go above and beyond. That's a fucking great thing to hear. And then when talking about DLC, he said that any DLC should be free unless you're expecting to get, I think it was 20 or more hours out of the gameplay, and then it can be paid content for them, which is why when you see, you know, like Blood and Wine, which is almost its own standalone fucking game, it is paid content. But again, it's almost its own game. I mean, I think I spent over 30 hours just in Blood and Wine. And the thing that impressed me the most with his response, because again, he's only speaking for his company and what their ideas are and what they want to deliver to you guys. So yeah, that's great. But his reaction to the community was the best part. Because their first question essentially was, what are your thoughts on the discussion over the last year of paid content and loot boxes and games as a service. And his response was, well, let's not call it a discussion, because that's not what it was. It was a very vocal group of gamers standing up for themselves. And I loved it. That is the complete 180-degree response of what you would expect from a game developer. This is a guy who is for the community. He's pro-gamer, saying, I'm happy that they responded this way. I'm happy that they were vocal and finally stood up for themselves. And I hope that this makes our industry better, and we go forward from here making things better. Like that is just, it's such a good response, but it's just so unexpected to hear a game developer saying, I'm happy that this happened, and I hope that this makes everything better. Like, that's just, you would never expect to hear that from a game developer. And what were your guys' thoughts on that? I don't know if you guys actually read the article or not, but on the cliff notes, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
You know, there's something here that I actually had a friend who worked in the gaming industry for quite some time, on the retail end. I mean, this isn't like insiders with a major dev or anything. And I was talking with him, and he said, here's the problem. You have major companies, I won't name anybody, you have major companies who come out and they show this like proof of concept, or this here's what we have video, like we talked about with Robert Space Industries. Mm-hmm. And it gets people hyped up. They're like, oh my God, this looks incredible. And then the game comes to us after, you know, millions of dollars in pre-orders, and people go, okay, this game is, well, it's all right. And what people aren't thinking about in a lot of cases is money is made off of things like pre-ordering before the product is delivered. So the company has your money before you have their product. And so they can pretty much go, oh, well, this is good enough. We already have the money. Season passes do the same thing. I'm really sorry, but at 37 years old, when somebody says you could save $10 on this season pass instead of paying full price, I'll pay full price, thanks, because I'm only going to spend the money on a product that is finished. Yeah. And they do the carrot dangling bullshit where they're like, well, if you pre-order, you're going to get this exclusive gun and this exclusive map and this exclusive armor, which, if you're patient and you wait 6 months, all of it will be available for 99 cents on Steam.
Yeah. So that's, you know, when it comes to the season pass shit, like you said, they're dangling the carrot in front of the horse's fucking mouth. Because, like, if I buy season tickets to the Lions games, I know there's going to be a game this week, and I could go to all of them and get my money's worth because I am going to every single game. They are not going to suddenly say, oh, well, this week the game is going to be an hour shorter. Or this week they're not actually going to play another team. They're going to play a high school team and paralyze a bunch of motherfuckers. Like, no, there's...
Stafford is going to be on the bench watching the whole fucking thing.
Right. There is a known... You know, there's a known quality that they're going to give you when you buy season tickets to any sporting event. It doesn't work that way with games because, like Shank said, they've already got your fucking money. They could give a shit less whether or not, you know, you're happy with it, essentially. It's like, hey, we got your money. Later, bitches. You know, so for the love of whatever fucking holy deity you goddamn pray to, stop buying season passes and all of that stupid shit. Stop pre-ordering shit, for Christ's sakes. If you want to pre-order something, like, pre-order a fucking car that you know is going to come out, not a fucking video game that may turn out to be dog shit. Please continue.
Flat in your Twitch chat. Please do not get me started on Aliens Colonial Marines.
Oh, God.
The only thing that I still cherish from buying the collector's edition of that is the Power Loader statue sitting behind me. The rest of that... Oh.
That game
God, don't get
was...
me started on Pittsburgh.
No, see, that game was a genuine disappointment because that is fucking childhood, man. Like, that is... my wheelhouse. I mean, I told you guys before, you know, this is another piece of useless fucking information that'll never serve you anywhere. But, you know, when you look at someone like Bill Paxton, only man to ever be killed by an alien, a predator, and a Terminator. Nobody
Rest
gives a
in
shit,
peace.
but goddammit, that is my childhood, and they fucking destroyed it. Because I don't care who you are, even now you can take a kid and show them aliens, and they're going to be like, Colonial Marines are badass motherfuckers. Because they are.
That's right.
But in that game, no, they're fucking useless.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, for me, I am such, like, people who are close to me know that, like, I will take aliens over anything. And I have an alien tattoo. I have statues, pop vinyls, games. I have multiple copies of the movies and stuff. And
Kind of a fan.
a little bit. And what really
This motherfucker's
shackled
got a
me-
rifle rack in his pickup truck, and he's got an M441 pulse rifle sitting there.
The M41A. I just, like, and when I found out what really caused them to shit on aliens was Borderlands 2, I was like, you know what? No. You chased your cash cow instead of going for the game. I mean, Aliens Colonial Marines, if they had made it everything they had promised it would be, it would have literally redefined, like, the jump scare shooter genre. I mean, Aliens, the second movie was, in my opinion, one of the least scary, but it was the best.
Well, it was scary for a whole different reason. It didn't have the same tension that the first one had because they could fight back. But it was scary to think that these are the baddest motherfuckers in the galaxy, and they're getting tore the fuck up like ragdolls.
Right.
But no, you're completely correct in the sense that they chase their cash cow, and I think that's, I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong because I am the demographic that they don't really shoot for so much. They tend to, at least in my eyes, they tend to cater more to the late teens, early 20s, even mid-teens to early 20s, which is odd to me because, you know, more and more often now we're seeing the stories about the studies saying, you know, average gamer is 35 years old, and, you know, it's our generation that grew up at the precipice of gaming. We're the ones that are in gaming and spending the money. You know, I'm sorry, but there are very few fucking 15-year-old kids out there that have a gaming rig like mine. And if they do, it's because mom and dad fucking bought it for them, and they have no idea what they're buying and what they're doing, most likely, unless you're,
Right.
you know, you're lucky enough to have Terry Crews as a father, and he builds a fucking $10,000 gaming rig. Fucking lucky little bastard. But, you know, it's our age range that are playing these games, that are buying these machines and doing all of this, yet they still cater to the younger crowd, which doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Because when you look at something like The Witcher that has been a huge fucking success, or even GTA 5, and even GTA 5 you can kind of say, well, you know, that the teeny boppers get in on that because we know they do, but still, that's catered towards an adult audience, not towards a child audience. And not to say that Borderlands 2 is, you know, for kids. It's not. I've played it. It's a fun game. But the more serious games, the more adult-oriented games, at least from what I see, tend to do better. So why in the fuck are they, you know, not trying to cash in on our childhood? Why have we not seen a Aliens game, or a good Aliens game, or a good Terminator game, or something along those lines to fucking cash in on our nostalgia? It seems like a no-brainer to me.
Well, backing up just a little bit, I do have to say that one of the most intelligent acquisitions for the Aliens series specifically was Creative Assembly. Alien Isolation, like, I didn't think a game could get any more terrifying than games like Amnesia: The Dark Descent. And then Alien Isolation came along and said, hold my beer, motherfuckers. I'm going to show you how to properly shit your pants.
Well, the reason that I like Alien Isolation, and I haven't even played it, I've just watched people play it because it's not really my style. But the big problem I have with most horror-based stuff, especially nowadays, is it relies purely on jump scares. And it's like, dude, you can take the most hardcore badass motherfucker on the planet. I mean, I could take Jocko Willink and sit him down in a chair, and if I show him a black screen and build tension with subtle music and start raising it, and then kill the music and flash something on screen, he's gonna jump. It's just your body's natural fucking reaction. He may end up punching my monitor, but he's gonna jump. I hate games and movies that do that. They build tension purely from, or they build fear purely from your body's natural reaction. To me, that's very annoying. Alien didn't do that so much. Yes, there was jump scares in it, but there was genuine tension in that game where the alien wasn't even fucking there. The tension was built because of that oh so fucking familiar beep. And for any of you that are old enough to remember the original, the original Aliens game back in the day on, I think it was like Windows 95 or something. There was an Aliens game back then where you played a colonial marine. And you had one of those motion sensors. That was one of the, to this day, that was one of the most terrifying games I have ever played because of that fucking beep. That simple little fucking beep would have you ready to piss yourself as it got quicker and quicker and quicker, and then it was there. That, to me, that is a scary game. Jump scares, no, that's just a cheap trick. But building tension like that, yeah, I take my hats off to the guys that did Alien Isolation.
I do think that one of the other things for me, like, I'm, again, this is me fanboy soapboxing, but I actually have, like, the Aliens technical manual where it talks about all the equipment and stuff. And, like, somewhere I was reading a forum and it was talking about the motion tracker itself, because, as you say, that goddamn ping on that motion tracker, like, we don't get scared by our cell phones anymore. Your cell phone could have the same fucking audio file play. You're just like, oh yeah, it's so-and-so texting me. But when you're in those games and you're in those moments and you hear that beep, you immediately pull that thing up and you can see the individual ping. Well, one of the things that I actually learned, I think it was from Aliens vs. Predator 2, because it was the first one that actually used this mechanic. When you pull up the motion tracker that the Marines use, if the alien is on the same level as you, like altitude wise, it shows up as one little tiny white ping on the tracker. But if they are above or below you, the tracker can't pinpoint it, so it creates a small cluster of little white dots.
Is fucking dirty.
So it was one of those things where it's like you see that little ping and it's like, is that one or is that a half dozen of them? Shit! You know,
that is so dirty.
Ammo counter and your magazine's half empty and you're like, oh well, fuck it. I'm just gonna quick reload. I'm screwed.
Yeah, that is just wrong. But that, again, that genre, or even, Predator, Wildlands tried to cash in on that a little bit. And they did. Like, that event was hugely popular because of those of us that have fucking grown up watching those movies and were like, yeah, I want to get my Dutch on. Went and played that event for however long it ran. And it kind of revitalized Wildlands for a minute. Well, yeah, everybody wants to try and be Carl Weathers for a minute and not get punched in the face by Ivan Drago. Yeah, exactly. And
this is advice coming from the War Games Inc. podcast. Ubisoft, please have more Predator events and Wildlands.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'd be happy to get my fucking Donald Glover on, or Danny Glover, sorry.
Danny Glover.
To cut back to fucking Lethal Weapons. See, it's one big circle.
One big circle.
He's too old for this shit, and he ain't got time to bleed.
That's right.
So, next thing I wanted to get into is some of the games that we have coming up here in the near future. And I was looking at the list earlier, and it's not necessarily that it's kind of slim pickings this year. There's a fuck ton of stuff coming out this year. For myself, there's not a ton of things I'm really excited for. Thanks to this morning, I'm super fucking excited for the new Assetto Corsa. They're saying that it's going to be out summer of this year, which is I mean, that's insane to think because they just announced it today. Yeah, they've been working on it for a while. They've already got in-game footage, trailer and stuff. They've been working on it in the dark depths of their fucking basement for a minute now. But they're already doing test plays of it this spring because the game is not going to be a full-on racing simulator in the sense of how Assetto Corsa is now with multiple classes and stuff. This is the first ever licensed Blockpain GT series game. So it's only focusing on the Blockpain GT3 cars, which is cool because it harkens back to the days of GTR2 and stuff like that, where they only focused on one specific class of racing. So they could really put a lot of time into it and make it really well. Now, they're already setting up demos for it this spring when Blockpain goes to Monza, which is in Italy, which is where the development team is from. They're setting up simulators in the paddock at the racetrack while the real cars are running around the track. Guys are going to be able to hop in the sim and drive the same cars at that track and see what it's like.
Oh my god, that's fucking sexy, dude.
And that's insane to think that it's February and they make the announcement today, and within a couple months, people are already going to be playing it, playing the demo of it. And in half a year, it's going to be out. Like, that's insane. They're working incredibly quick. And they just had an update a few months ago where they added like 6 or 7 new cars to Assetto Corsa and a whole new track. So to think they were doing that on top of developing this new game is pretty impressive.
Sounds like Cloud Imperium could take a page from their book.
Yeah. Well, the main reason though that I'm so excited for this is because A, like I said, they're focusing on one series of racing so they can really get it right. B, they are focusing on one of my favorite series of racing, not necessarily Blockpain, but they're doing both the Blockpain Sprint and the Endurance series, which are the same cars, but Sprint series are generally about an hour-long race. The Endurance series, those guys do the big boy races. Their shortest races are 3 hours, longest races are 24 hours, and you can do that in the game. You can do a 24-hour race with fully animated pit crews, driver swaps, everything. So, mail, motherfucker.
God damn it.
God damn
So,
Seri.
especially for us guys that like the endurance racing, we finally get to simulate those 24-hour races that you could only do before in R Factor 2. Now we're going to be able to do them.
Jesus, I'm sorry.
Damn, you are fucking popular. See,
I
I'm
told
telling you,
you, she's popular.
if you streamed, all them motherfuckers would be sending you money instead of emails and shit.
Yeah, damn.
But yeah, we get
First one was
to
an email.
we get to simulate those 24-hour races and do driver swaps, and they're going to have full day-night cycle, active weather, all of that good shit. All of their tracks are laser scanned. Like, it's, for a driving simulator nerd, it's like fucking Christmas in June. It doesn't get any better. So I'm very, very excited for that. That's probably the game I'm most excited for. And a close second for that is going to be Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, a lot of people are wary about it because of, Rockstar's take to the shark cards, and I believe they already said they are going to have something along those lines in Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm not positive on that, but
War bonds.
yeah, bonds. Fucking Christ. But what are your guys' thoughts on? Are you guys excited for Red Dead 2? Did you play the original?
I did play the original. I'm excited for the sake of the story. I played online in Red Dead original, but it was nothing exciting for me. Like, that's not the reason I bought that game. Like, I bought Grand Theft Auto 5 to play online. Like, that was the reason I bought that game. Red Dead Redemption is one of those things where, like, I thoroughly enjoyed the storyline of the main character, and like I want to see where are they at now. Like, I'm not even sure if they're following the same storyline or if they're going to be linear.
It's whole new characters, I believe.
Yeah. So like, if their storytelling was as good in the new one that it was in the previous one, I'll purchase the game. I don't care if it's got online or not. It's just I want it for the story. It was the same thing with Battlefront 2. I just wanted the game for the story. I don't even care with all the loot box crap that was going on. I was like, I'll stay away from online.
Well, yeah, but that's like comparing apples to fucking watermelons. You know, Red Dead was like hours and hours of storyline. Battlefront's probably like 3 hours. But
I'm worried about what Rockstar is going to do as far as currency. But I'm also kind of concerned with what Take-Two is going to do. I mean, Take-Two recently is not known for its intelligent decision making.
yeah,
When they shut off modding entirely, like when they banned that core modding component
yeah,
to
5M.
GTA 5, like that almost shut down GTA faster than Battlefront 2 with loot boxes.
Well, when you think about it, that was, at least from my memory, that was really the catalyst to people getting very fucking vocal very quickly about their distaste with, you know, gaming companies and some of their policies and shit. Because when that all went down and Take-Two essentially slammed the fucking door in 5M's face and said, yeah, no more of this, it's done, people spoke up in a fucking big bad way. And I mean, within, I don't even think it was a week, Take-Two was like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and undo everything that we just said, because I like my multi-million-dollar home.
Right.
So, you know, they very quickly backed up and said, well, okay, maybe we can, you know, try something else. And to Rockstar's credit, they immediately come out and said, hey, this is not what we want to do. This isn't our decision to be made. We, you know, we support you guys. We want to keep this open and so on. So to their credit, Rockstar was behind their community somewhat. Granted, they also seen that, oh shit, people aren't going to buy shark cards as much. But to their credit, they did come out and basically speak against their publisher and say, yeah, we don't want to do this.
Right.
But Take-Two did back up very quickly and say, okay, yeah, we're not going to do that. And I think they did learn their lesson on that. I think they realized, oh shit, if we're going to in any way have a game that's open for modding, we can't take that shit away. So my guess, if anything, would be that Red Dead, you're not going to be able to mod it in any way, shape, or form. That's my guess, because they don't want people fucking around in their honey jar.
Oh, you mean I can't ride the villagers like a horse anymore?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But this was something that Heckman brought up in the last podcast, was that all of this controversy going on with the microtransactions and stuff, he said, he was saying that was, he thinks that that's companies basically finding the limits of how far they can push it. And thinking of it that way, I can't necessarily fault them. And I know this is going to sound ridiculous, especially coming from me, who's always fucking rah-rah fuck microtransactions. But look at it this way, okay? You're a business. Your job number one is make scratch, all right? That's all you need to care about. Obviously, you want to make as much as you can for as cheaply as you can. So your goal number one is to figure out how much can you squeeze that dime to make a quarter. And that's kind of what EA's been doing. And I'm not fucking siding with EA saying, you know, what they're doing is right. But from a business standpoint, I can completely understand it. They're finding where that edge is and taking a peek over and saying, can I dip my toe in there? Oh, goddamn, Disney just about evaporated my entire company. Nope, I'm not swimming in that pool yet. And
on that note, there is a rumor rolling around that Disney's going to pull the Star Wars contract from EA.
I have seen that as well. What do you guys think about that?
Also chasing the rumor that Microsoft is in discussions on acquiring EA.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Well,
there's also supposedly there's some discussion out there that I believe it was Comcast is looking at buying out Fox and trying to outbid Disney on Fox, which I don't think is going to happen because, let's face it, Mickey's got the longest schlong of all thanks to Marvel. So
You know what?
Comcast ain't got a chance.
If Disney acquires Fox News, I cannot wait to watch the Fox News broadcast as hosted by Mickey Mouse.
Well, for me, the biggest thing because I'm a huge comic book
As
nerd, so they're going to
hosted
get
by
all the
Mickey
rights back to everything. I don't care about the news, but let's face it, Comcast I hate, and I mean my sister fucking works for them, and I still hate them. But if they're going to try and buy Fox, yeah, Mickey's about to drop his fucking 5-foot schlong down on the table and say, "Yeah, this is mine. Back off." But what do you guys think about the Star Wars IP being pulled from EA? Would you guys want to see that? Who would you want to see get it?
I think it's kind of well deserved. It's kind of just like, you know what, you made your bed, now it's time to lay in it. I don't remember, was EA wasn't in the developer for the original Battlefronts, correct?
I honestly could not tell you.
I don't believe so. Because if they were, they would more than likely be suing the shit out of anybody who's running Battlefront 2
Yeah, the
servers
old servers,
right now.
yeah.
All right, it was developed by LucasArts, and
Yes.
it was the original.
Yes.
Pandemic Studios was the developer at the time, which I don't think they're around anymore. Or if
Pandemic,
they are,
I believe, was closed by EA, if I am remembering.
What a lovely fucking circle of life.
Yeah.
Here's what I think. Fucking pull it from EA. Give it to Project Red.
I would throw literally my entire bank account at that.
Well,
Obviously,
okay.
Project Red has got the right head on their shoulders, and they obviously seem to understand how the gaming industry needs to roll for the players to be satisfied and for the for the companies to make scratch still. So why not give it to the company that seems to has their head on straight?
I would agree somewhat. I would say yes, give a portion of it to them. Let them play with the Legos a little bit. Because what they're going to build is going to be the next Star Wars The Old Republic. Which, obviously, there will be nerdgasms across the fucking universe for it.
Yes.
So, absolutely, give the fucking storytelling guys the storytelling game. That's who needs to have it. Give it to CD Projekt Red, or even though it's still under the same fucking umbrella, give it to BioWare and just leave them the fuck alone. Like, let them do what the fuck they do, leave them the fuck alone, and do not say, hey, we need to make this much earning in the first quarter on this game. Just give it to them and let them tell a story. Now, as far as the actual Battlefront portion of it, like the real action portion of it, that would be the tough one, honestly, because most of the action-oriented developers at this point are all about the dollar. That's all they're interested in. They're not interested in the gameplay and making it fun and immersive. They just want that money. And while I agree CD Projekt Red could make a very interesting story and very immersive, I don't know offhand of what they've done as far as like first-person shooters and action-oriented games like that. So I'd be kind of wary there. So what about, instead of having CD Projekt Red do that portion, what about someone along the lines of, oh god damn it, it just dropped out of my head. I was thinking of someone and I completely forgot it. Well, that sucks. Oh, son of a bitch, who was I thinking of? Damn them.
A current company or a company that has had good success previously?
No, it was a company previously. Oh, not previously. Jesus Christ, what am I thinking? They're still somewhat more money-oriented, and I don't know how I forgot this because we were just talking about them. What about giving the action portion of it to Rockstar and seeing what they can do? I mean, they're also storytellers. I mean, obviously with Red Dead and even the Grand Theft Auto series, they've been great storytellers, but they are more action-oriented. What about seeing what they can do with it? What would you guys think about a Rockstar Star Wars game? Obviously, hopefully, fucking Jar Jar's not getting hot coffee or anything like that, but do you guys think they could pull it off? Yeah, you're welcome for that mental image.
Puke. Hang on.
Good luck going to sleep tonight.
I could see it. It's not like Rockstar's got a bad rap storytelling. I do like whenever I do play the story or the offline mode, you know, it's not a bad story. I do enjoy playing it through. My wonder is that are they going to get serious enough to take the IP seriously?
Well, I think they could. I mean, you look at Red Dead. I mean, that was a fucking serious game, especially the final mission. Like, I don't care if you're fucking, you know, Gunny Hartman himself. Like, you got a tear rolling at the end of that shit.
Yeah, the end of that game was fucking savage.
Yeah, Liquid said had all the feels. The last mission had all the feels.
Exactly. Yeah, I think they could do it. Or, as Crest mentioned, their Naughty Dog. I mean, that is a company for storytelling and action. I mean, I've never personally played Uncharted because it's a PlayStation exclusive, but I've watched a lot of gameplay of it, and my God, those guys are fucking impressive. That would be cool.
The thing for me, like at 37, I remember working in gaming retail.
37? I'm 37. Yeah. Sorry.
Holy
Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith moment there.
I remember working in retail in multiple locations in gaming, and people came to me and they were just like, I don't know what game to buy for my husband, blah, 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 blah. And Liquid nailed it. The Last of Us. The Last of Us will literally punch your emotions dead in the nuts in the first 15 minutes. And Naughty Dog is right up there with BioWare for storytelling.
Yeah.
Like, you love the characters, you live the existence, and you cannot stop talking about it for years after it's all said and done.
Like I said, I've never played Uncharted, never played The Last of Us, watched a lot of it, and I remember when that trailer came out for The Last of Us 2 with Ellie singing. Like, I remember watching that, never playing the game before, and instantly I was like, all right, if somebody were to try and fuck with her, I would destroy their soul. Just that easily there was that connection, and because of how much I've watched the game and I've fallen in love with those characters without ever even playing it. Yeah, that would be one hell of a game to see Naughty Dog do a Star Wars game. Holy fuck.
Yeah, talk about a company that would just take the IP and go, we don't need to change it, we don't need to fuck with it, it doesn't require loot boxes, just give us 10 minutes and we're gonna write you a novel that will have you bawling the entire way.
Who was it that developed God damn it. Oh, what's the name of the game with the big daddies and the little sisters where you're underwater? BioShock. Who did that? Was that BioWare?
No, it was 2K.
2K.
Was it 2K? Those games, all three of them, genuinely impressed me with the storytelling, and especially, you know, the shock ending. Even the one with the last one that they did, the ending of that, I was just like, oh my God, like, fucking Hollywood can't even do this good. Like,
that's right.
What the fuck?
That's right.
They would be another good one for something like that, or even I'd just like them to do another game like that.
You know, they actually carried it on after BioShock Infinite. Clash in the Clouds, I haven't checked out the DLCs. Much about it, but Burial at Sea, oh my God. You want to talk about like roaring 20s awesome, like private dick story? I mean, it's holy shit, it was so good.
That entire series was just such a cool and original concept. It was like, the weird thing is, it reminded me a lot of Blade Runner, and people may think, well, that makes absolutely no sense. It's like the complete fucking opposite. But it reminded me of Blade Runner in the sense that it was almost a dystopian future that you could tell right away that something wasn't quite right. that there was, there was something off with even the people that, were quote unquote perfect. And yeah, it was just such an original story, an original idea. I fucking loved it from Jump Street, playing through all 3 of those.
Like Liquid is saying, would you kindly?
Yeah, exactly.
3 words that will forever twist your fucking mind
exactly.
into knots.
Still to this day, most gamers, you can say to them, would you kindly, and they're like, oh, fuck off. It's like, no, I won't, motherfucker. I have a choice. So, yeah, that would... God damn it, now I want to see a Naughty Dog Star Wars game. Motherfucker. But those are, Red Dead and Assetto Corsa now are really the only 2 games I'm really looking forward to right now. And Shank, please don't try and punch me. But I am looking forward to Anthem, not because I would like to lace fucking EA's pockets more. Mostly because I'm going into Anthem with the same mindset now, being able to look back at The Division and Wildlands, where, yeah, I'm going to spend $60. I know I'm not going to play it for hundreds of hours, but I'm going to get like 34, 40 hours of just ridiculous laughter and fun with my friends, and that's worth it to me. So that's why I'm looking forward to it, is because I know I'm going to have a good time with some friends with it. But what about you guys? Is there like one gem out there that you're looking forward to where it's like, all right, can this year just fucking fly by already?
Well, obviously the big one that's coming this year for me is The Last of Us 2. That's going to be all over my stream when that comes out. God of War I'm also excited about, just because they're kind of going back to earlier times in Kratos' life. But the one that I'm keeping my eyes on it, and I so hope that everything that they show is just completely eclipsed by the final product. I'm really looking forward to Days Gone. If you haven't seen Days Gone, if you haven't watched the gameplay trailers, it is like I can't express how terrifying that game looks.
Real quickly, Days Gone is the one with the guy that's in an MC that we see in the gameplay video, and he's running from the horde of zombies, right?
Yes.
Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yes,
okay.
That is Days Gone, and they've been showing more and more stuff for like how that game is going to play and stuff, and persistent and affecting weather effects. They can literally change the entire course of a mission. Things that you encounter randomly in the game create emergent moments. Like there was a gameplay demo where they showed the main character, and he had done something earlier in the game and pissed somebody off. Well, then later, there was a random event on the road while he was riding his motorcycle, and he got clotheslined and taken off of his bike, and it's this just randomly located event where these people try to take him off of his bike and try to kill him. And you have to fight them off in this emergent gameplay moment. Like, things aren't located in the same place. People love or hate you based on decisions and events from hours before in the game. Weather is constantly affecting everything. Zombies, the infected or whatever they are, sometimes they're very, very thin in numbers and missions. Or like if you did something intelligent or stupid at another point in the game, they're in huge swarms in future missions. It promises to have this emergent gameplay that I really don't think we have seen it at that magnitude in a game so far.
Yeah, it's definitely one. When I seen it, it piqued my interest. Because the very first thing I noticed, I was like, "Holy shit, this dude's wearing a cut." And I was like, "Okay, so they're doing Sons of Anarchy in the apocalypse. All right. Well, hopefully they're not a bunch of douchebags like they are in the show." And yes, I did say he was in an MC. Okay, for those of us that have been in that world, it is an MC, a motorcycle club. You are. Yes, they did get that right in the show. You are a motorcycle enthusiast. You are not a fucking gang. God, I hated that show for that reason. Every fucking retard and his fucking brother who were posers had to run out and grab leathers and a fucking Harley goddamn 883 Sporty and be like, oh, I'm a biker, I'm a 1%er.
I'm a biker.
Like, yeah, motherfucker, go ahead and sew a fucking 1% patch on your vest. Let's see how long you survive, okay? And just for the record, not all fucking 1% clubs are getting in gunfights everywhere and fucking running guns and all of that stupid shit. Like, they're smarter than that. Yes, that may have been what happened in the 70s when they weren't on the FBI's fucking gang list, but now they're not running guns with the fucking IRA and fucking paying off cops and, yeah, that's Hollywood,
Right.
motherfuckers. Calm your tits, all right? So yeah, I remember when I watched that, I was like, okay, that looks pretty cool, because it was it reminded me a lot of Dying Light, and I was like, okay, so it's kind of along the lines of that. So that does look interesting. Patty, what about for you? Is there anything you're like really geeked for?
Actually, there are a few things I've been keeping my eye
Oh, fuck off!
on.
You get one choice.
Kingdom Hearts 3 is on my radar. I was a big Kingdom Hearts kid when I was growing up on the PS2. Detroit Become Human is something I saw at E3, and I've just been intrigued ever since.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's I don't think that one's coming to PC.
Yeah, I got a PlayStation 4, so I can still play it. I probably won't be able to
plebeian.
stream it, but yeah, well, you know, I need something to watch Hulu on.
Yeah. Yeah, that Detroit Become Human does look fucking amazing. It reminds me a lot of a show that Fox actually did called Almost Human with Carl Urban.
Yeah.
That show was awesome, but it was typical Fox. It's like, hey, we'll give it one season. All right,
And then
yeah,
we'll
it's
screw
canceled.
it up.
Dude, fuck you guys. God damn it. It was the same thing with the Sarah Connor Chronicles. That's why it ended like shit, because they just suddenly decided, yeah, it's over. Like,
Yeah, that was
motherfuckers.
lame. I love that show. The ending
Shit,
sucked.
yeah.
And
It was awesome. I mean, John Connor was still a whiny little bitch, which I've always hated about all the movies, but, you know, whatever. It is what it is. Fucking Lena Headey, or whatever, Headey, was fucking badass as Sarah Connor before she was the queen.
Before she was Cersei.
Yeah. And was also in Dread with Carl Urban. See? Fucking Fox Circle.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And what about you, Seri? Is there something out there that you're really looking forward to?
Apparently, Hello Kitty Online.
Well, I mean, come on. That's already on everybody's list. That's
I've already
no-brainer.
made your account for you, Seri.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Shank has been very good about getting me into all these games. I honestly, I don't know, because it's like I have to admit that I am still rather noobish in regards to following a lot of the game series and such like that come out, but I kind of play what my friends are into, and then I find, you know, my little niche in the games that they play. So I am kind of interested in the
Hello Kitty Online.
Hello Kitty Online, and exactly, what was it, The Last of Us. I think that sounds like it might be something that's kind of up my alley, because I really do enjoy story driven, because, as you know, that's what I do. I write, so it's like I like story. I am a big fan of story.
Provided you have a PlayStation, it is indeed probably right up your alley.
I don't. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Don't have a console.
all right. So
See,
that's the
now
third
you
thing
need
on
to
the list.
stream,
That's
and
the
you
third
can
thing
buy a
we have to buy.
PlayStation next week.
I'm gonna make Seri a giftster registry.
Yeah.
I need a GoFundMe page.
That's right. This woman needs to be a streamer. God damn it!
God damn it.
Sure. There was one thing. Brewer, are you into flight sims? I know you're into the racing, but you into flight sims?
I am very much so. The only reason I don't play them right now is because I can't justify dropping the $400 on a HOTAS Warthog. Because I am a total hardware whore. Like, if there's a reason I have $5,000 worth of shit. So if I were to get into DCS, I would have to get a Warthog. That's simple. But yes, you know, I would play DCS. I know Ace Combat 7 is also coming out, as Liquid mentions.
You beat me to it, damn it.
Yeah, like I've watched some stuff for Ace Combat, and I'm like, oh god. But yeah, I'm a huge flight sim fan. Not so much, and this may sound silly, but I'm not so much a modern flight sim fan. like, yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Warthog because of what it is and, you know, my personal experience with it. But I'm more so into the older stuff. I really, really enjoy World War II aircraft. That was when I was very young. Aside from Maverick, World War II aircraft were the reason I wanted to become a pilot. That's why I wanted to go into the Air Force. And obviously that ended up not being in my path thanks to horrible eyesight. But I loved, there used to be this game called B-17 Super Fortress, where you played as the gunners on a B-17. And I would play that game for hours and hours and hours. My favorite thing was to be the ball gunner, because when I was probably like 13, 14 years old, they actually brought a B-17 to the airport here in Flint, and they were giving tours of it. And I got to actually walk on board a B-17, and me and my buddy were on the waist guns, and, you know, they were showing us how you couldn't actually stand back to back. Now, mind you, we were like I said, like 13, 14 years old. I'm not that big. Like, I'm, you know, maybe like 5'8", and I'm, you know, running into my buddy next to me. And then they were like, well, if you want to try out the ball turret, you can climb down in there. And I was like, oh my God, this is my chance to, you know, climb down in a ball turret and see what it was like for these guys. And I couldn't fit. I was too big. At 13 years old, I was too big to get down inside of the ball turret of one of those things. And it made me very quickly realize, one, these guys were basically jockeys in the air. Two, they were the craziest motherfuckers on the planet to climb into a aluminum and glass ball underneath underneath an aircraft that's a couple thousand feet, well, over 10,000 feet up in the air, with Germans shooting at them with 20mm cannons. Like, that's absolutely insane. But they did it. Anyways, that's why I love World War II sims. Plus, I grew up, you know, watching movies like that, like Memphis Belle, which anybody that's ever seen that movie, amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, amazing movie, based on a true story, very loosely based on a true story. But,
oh my fucking God, Shank!
Look at the link I posted for you, Brewer, in TeamSpeak chat.
Oh Jesus!
Fucking
I have the AC-130 version on the back of my car.
I always joke because I drove a plow truck for many years,
Okay.
and I always wanted to get stickers made that were like, you know, stick figures and like people in wheelchairs in a car, and put it on the door of my truck like bombers or fighter pilots would put, you know, a Swazi on their plane for each German aircraft they shot down.
Yeah.
I wanted to put that on my truck for every like stupid person I tidal waved with snow.
Amazing.
So yeah, very long story. Yes, I am into flight sims, but I don't play them because I don't want to spend the money. But that, I guess, going over the games that we're really looking forward to, real quickly, I want to tell you guys about at least what I've had going on off stream. I binge watched a new show on Netflix, or at least somewhat new, called Altered Carbon. Have any of you guys watched that yet?
I keep
heard
hearing
many
about
good
that.
things about it.
Oh my God. It is so fucking good. The main character in it, he's the guy that plays what is it, Rick, whatever, from Suicide Squad. The the military guy, the soldier guy, basically the one who's doesn't have superpowers. He's the main character in the show. But the show is incredibly interesting. It's way into the future. It is a lot like Blade Runner, as far as like the visuals and stuff like that. But essentially, we've reached a point where human consciousness can now be transferred from body to body, and the bodies they call sleeves. And if you die, if you have enough money, you just go into a new sleeve, and you know, if you're rich enough, you can live forever. It's a lot also like Timeless. Or is it Timeless? That fucking Timberlake movie? I think that was the name of it. Anyways, it's a lot like that, where, you know, the rich people get to live forever. But, you know, typical Netflix, it's like 10 episodes. They release the entire season in one go. And I'm pretty sure we sat there and watched 5 episodes straight one night. It was just, it's so goddamn good. In time, that's it. But yeah, highly, highly fucking recommend that show if you have not seen it yet. You know, if you got Netflix, go check it out. If you don't have Netflix, put up the sails
for a free month.
You know, just put up the sails and go sail the high seas. You can find it. Not difficult. But very, very good show. And I had, you know, a couple people tell me about it. Drum was telling me to check it out, and I finally did, and it was just outstanding. And then, of course, I started yet another watch through of Band of Brothers the other night because...
Oh my god, I love that show.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, I watch it once a year, like religiously. At least once a year. I'll go through and watch all of it. Because, I mean, you guys don't know. Most of the people watching the stream know I've, I guess, pseudo-personal ties to it. My grandfather was Dog Company 506. He came in after...
Oh, wow.
He came in after Market Garden. He was one of the replacements that came in. The very few times he would talk to me about it, he would joke about the fact that he was a paratrooper and never jumped out of a plane during combat. Because he rowed a boat over. He was injured in Bastogne and rowed a boat home. He never made a combat jump.
Oh, god damn it.
Throughout his time. And he's like, you know, they trained us for like 8 months, and I never jumped out of an airplane.
You know, piece of trivia with Band of Brothers. I was actually, I think I was either reading it or I saw it in an interview or something, and a lot of the guys that were still around when Band of Brothers was made, they said that the guy who played Garnier was like...
Oh yeah, gonorrhea?
They said his character, the actor that played his character, was like the spitting image of the guy.
Oh yeah,
the
absolutely.
Actual guy in World War II.
That was what I really loved about how they didn't do the reveals of who those guys were talking at the opening of each episode until the very end, except for Garnier. I knew who that motherfucker was instantly. I was like, that's Wild Bill. There's no question, no nothing. And it was the same with Richard Winters, simply because I had seen Richard Winters many times. You know, being a military buff, Richard Winters is, you know, essentially an idol to anybody that's, you know, infantry focused or even military focused. You know, he's one of the greatest officers the U.S. Army has ever produced. So I had seen him before, so I knew that was Richard Winters. But yeah, I love the way they did that. And yes, Crossroads was an amazing episode. Well, every one of them was a fucking amazing episode. But the reason I want to bring that stuff up, is the last podcast I also talked about a new movie I watched, which was Den of Thieves. Have any of you guys seen that one yet?
I have not, but I do remember you talking about it the other night after the podcast.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
It's definitely well worth watching. I don't know if it's for everyone. For me, with, you know, the military style of things that they did in it, it's definitely worth watching. It's hands down some of the best weapons handling I've ever seen in a movie. But what about you guys? Is there anything on like the TV movie front that you guys are like, holy fuck, you people need to see this? And by you people, I mean the viewers. Don't give me the what do you mean you people?
I gave the SWAT reboot a go.
Oh god.
Yeah. I wasn't. I liked it for the sake of the storylines, but like I've seen episodes of the original SWAT and I saw the movie. Like
Yeah, and AA Ron mentions fucking Sandcastle. I do still need to watch that. He keeps fucking busting my balls. I will fucking watch it eventually. Yes, and 13 Hours was also pretty good, aside from, you know, Michael Bay's, you know, whatever fascination with gigantic gasoline explosions, which I've told you guys about before. Like, please understand when you watch those fucking movies, HE grenades and RPGs and stuff like, they don't create a fireball when they explode. Like, they're not filled with fucking gasoline or kerosene or anything. Like,
wait. You mean the movies aren't real?
Some of them are, though, because like when you watch, when you watch Lone Survivor, that was one of the best depictions I've ever seen, because they used air cannons in the ground to simulate explosions from grenades and RPGs, so that it was just throwing dirt around, which is what it's like when you see a frag grenade go off. There's no, fireball or anything like that. It's just dirt that you see flying, because the shrapnel's so small you don't see it, you just feel it.
Why you ruin the explosion immersion?
Yeah.
I'm never going to be able to take a war movie seriously again unless they use real explosive effects.
Exactly.
You motherfuckers better be using real goddamn C4.
I want to see those actors explode on screen.
That is not Army issue debt cord, damn it.
Dear Michael Bay, we know that you fap every time gasoline burns, but please more realistic
I know,
effects.
you would think that, like, he would be wanting to do...
He uses it as lubrication?
Well, you would think think he'd be, like, trying to put a hit out on George Miller so he could do the next Mad Max and just have a fucking flame-throwing guitar just because.
Yes.
Just because.
Speaking of fucking incredible movies.
That was an incredible movie.
Oh my god,
yes.
I loved Mad Max.
I liked Mad Max
the thing that really did it for me with Mad Max, aside from the fact that it's an amazing movie. I was talking about this with Heckman last week before we did the podcast. I love this about all of the Mad Max movies, because he said he went back and watched the originals, and he was like, that was a big mistake, because the first one, it was nothing like what I was expecting. Because it's not. You look at the true Mad Max, because you have to remember, the second one isn't Mad Max. It's called Road Warrior.
It's called Road Warrior in the United States because it was actually called Mad Max 2.
Yeah.
But no one in the United States had seen Mad Max because they didn't know who Mel Gibson was. And they dubbed his voice. They totally
Well, that's because his accent was so thick, he had to go through years of voice coaching for people to be able to understand him.
To understand what he was saying.
But the first Mad Max movie is nothing like the second one or the third one, for that matter.
Very different.
But he was like, yeah, it's a completely different movie. But that's what I loved about Road Warrior, even somewhat Thunderdome, but especially Fury Road, is George Miller's like, I'm not going to explain shit to you.
Exactly.
Here's the movie. The bad guys live here. They have lots of titty milk and water. Movie rolls. Have fun.
Have fun.
I fucking love that. He's like, I'm not giving you a fucking backstory. Figure it out yourself. It can be whatever you want it to be.
The other thing that I loved about Fury Road, and Hollywood, if you're paying attention, Tom Hardy and the fuck is her name? Charlize Theron. They hate each other. Hate each other. And somehow on camera, like the greatest like volatile relationship. It was amazing.
Yeah, and as Crest mentioned, when the SWIC guys roll in Act of Valor, I agree. That to me is like the greatest 30 seconds of film for military ever. I love the idea that they're like, yeah, this is gonna be a hot extract. We're not getting the fuck out the truck. We're just driving it into the river, and then we're gonna float out. And then SWIC rolls up, and they're like, oh, you thought you were only dealing with the SEALs. Say hello to my dual 240s and my miniguns. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
It's such fucking, like, gun porn. It's like, oh. But when it comes to Mad Max, yeah, I loved, the fact that he didn't explain anything. He just let the movie go. But the other thing was the stunt team that worked on Fury Road, the head stunt guy or coordinator or whatever, was the same motherfucker that did Mad Max or Road Warrior way back when. It was the same guy. And I think they said he was in his late 70s or some shit. And the scene where the the truck turns over, the war rig turns over, and then, you know, explodes. When the truck actually turns over, that dude who's in his 70s was driving that motherfucker remotely from the back of the truck. He was inside of the tanker driving it and flipped that truck over remotely. That was the last stunt he ever did on film. He retired immediately after that movie was done. And that,
Dude, that's
that was his
amazing.
end.
That's very
Like,
cool.
dude, how much of a fucking badass are you where you're like, oh yeah, well, when I retired, I flipped over, you know, a fucking 18-wheeler and then it exploded into a gigantic ball of fire. It was an alright day.
That was my last day.
Normal day for me. You know.
Wasn't the
Put out with
craziest
a
day
bang.
I've ever had, but
Right.
you know. I did. The other thing that I actually heard about Fury Road was that the only scene in that movie that was CGI was when the steering wheel came flying at the screen, when the war rig flipped over. Everything else in that was all apparently organic visual effects. It wasn't computer edited. Well, aside from like
the big storm.
the big
The storm,
yeah.
yeah.
But like all the explosions, all the, you know,
Yeah, it was
all
all
the
the
car
non-supernatural events,
Yeah.
that was all completely organic.
Which, by the way, when you watch that, knowing that's all practical, people are really driving those cars at those speeds, okay, that's great. A lot of people drive cars really fast, all right? The fucking Finns have been doing it for decades, and we're like, you motherfuckers are doing 120 miles an hour through the woods sideways with your hair on fire. You're nuts. But
It's kind of like how I play Steve.
who did they, or how did they find the guys that had huffed enough paint to be crazy enough to do it, but were still coherent enough to sign a contract to get up on top of one of those poles and swing back and forth over top of this rolling fucking circus that's doing 100 miles an hour through the desert? Because whatever those guys were smoking, that is going to be the start of the zombie apocalypse. I promise you that.
100% pure adrenaline that they're injecting into their faces.
Right. It's like,
I can just see
dude,
him in the
feel
makeup
no
room,
pain
like
and no fear.
I can
Like,
see him in the
apparently
makeup room.
fucking-
All right, so here you go. Here's the makeup you're gonna need to look like a war boy. But what we're gonna have you do is right before we turn the camera on, this is called an EpiPen. You're gonna take this, you're gonna stab it into your chest, and then we're gonna start rolling. Are you ready?
like
Are you ready?
Gig says there, I'm surprised chrome paint is not more popular with the drug culture, because there is something in that shit.
Yeah, Chrome.
Yeah,
Chrome.
it will take
Heavy
you to
metal
fucking
poisoning.
Valhalla, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god.
Oh,
And that was
my
another
God.
thing. That was another one that
from plastic
um,
bag to your lungs.
well, that-
oh my god.
That was another thing I loved about that was, you know, they're talking about the fucking highway in Valhalla and stuff like that, and I'm like, fuck are these motherfuckers in post-apocalyptic Australia talking about Norse mythology and shit? How does this happen? George Miller, I love you. It just
God.
it makes no sense, but it's perfect because they are
When Viking
fucking,
culture goes
they are
diesel
Vikings,
punk,
man.
wonderful things happen.
I mean, they essentially are kind of like modern day Vikings, man. They sail out from their fucking home, rape, pillage, do as they please, and come home. Like,
When
makes
Vikings
sense.
go Kiwi.
Vikings gonna go down under.
no, when
Cross
when Vikings go down under is a completely different outcome.
Different movie. I think I saw it on Pornhub once.
Yeah.
Wait,
Oh my god.
you know,
Uh,
that's not entirely a bad thing. Sorry.
So I guess to get back to it, what are you guys, you know, watching? What can you guys recommend right now? Like, God, you need to go see this show, or you need to go watch this movie, or is there a show or movie that you guys are like really looking forward to?
Ready Player One.
Yep.
Ready Player One is, I mean, if you're a nerd, if you're a geek, if you're a gamer, and you don't see Ready Player One, you have not gone into the next life signing off your bucket list. I mean, it's, oh my god, even the trailers, I go, yes, let's watch!
And we talked about that a little bit last Friday after your guys' podcast, you know, about how the normal world's kind of opening up more to the gaming culture and VR becoming more of a thing, and how that's a real possibility that in the future we're going to be living in a virtual world. And we've seen that in Gamer. We also seen that in what was it, Surrogates with what's his nuts, John McClane himself.
Bruce Willis.
Bruce
Yeah,
Willis.
I remember
Bruce
that.
Willis. Yeah. But the only conservation I have when it comes to Ready Player One, because I am really excited for that movie, I do want to see it. I'm not a huge Miles Teller fan. I don't know why. I just think he has a punchable face. He always looks like he's about to start crying. Like, just take a second and watch him in a movie. In any scene, he looks like he could start bawling at any second.
You're not entirely wrong.
Like, I watched very recently the movie Only the Brave, which was an absolutely amazing film. Like, heart-wrenching fucking film, man. And it has Josh Brolin in it, and everybody loves Josh Brolin because he's a badass, and also he's fucking Cable.
Cable, that's right.
Miles Teller is also in that movie, and he kind of took me out of the movie. Like, everybody else was very believable, but him still the entire time, I was like, would you just fucking cry and get it over with? And then eventually he does, and I was like, all right, well, problem solved. But yeah, Ready Player One, I'm definitely looking forward to. I think more than Ready Player One, I'm looking forward to Deadpool 2. That's the one that I can't wait for. And for anybody, I guess, kind of the same mindset, I mean, it's really a no-brainer on why to be excited for fucking Deadpool 2. I mean, Deadpool 1 was such a huge hit. Smashed records all over the place. And to go from the last really well-received R-rated fucking comic book movie being Blade to this, it's like, holy fuck, this is like a whole nother level. Which, by the way, now there are, of course, the talks of the Blade comeback, now that Wesley has finished with his surprise butt sex in his minimum security penitentiary.
His tax evasion vacation.
Vacation. Surprise butt sex from his enemies.
What would you guys think about that? Would you want to see Wesley Snipes come back as Blade?
I think part of what made that movie so much fun for me was, like, obviously we've gone through the vampire era. I believe that we're on the tail end of the zombie era, but I could also be very wrong.
I hope so.
The thing that got me with Blade was it took comic books and said there is a darker side to being a superhero. I mean, both Blade and the other one who really brought around the true rise in modern day of the anti-hero was Riddick.
Oh,
and
I love it.
Then
Love
Deadpool
Riddick.
came out, and I have to chase a rabbit here for just a second. I almost fell out of my chair peeing my pants laughing when I read the article about some mother who sent a letter to either Marvel or Disney and said, I can't believe that you guys would stoop so low as to go to potty humor to put out another movie. Deadpool is not a Marvel thing, blah, blah, blah. Marvel would never do that. And I'm like,
What
Cupcake,
the fuck ever?
you need to fucking pay attention. And so Deadpool 2, like, thrilled. Cannot wait. I'm sure I'm going to have to wear adult diapers because I will be that close to peeing my pants again. But Blade, if for anybody who has seen the last Blade, it very much left off on a cliffhanger. And I would love to see Wesley Snipes come back and go,
ironically,
all
Ryan
right.
Reynolds is in that movie too.
Exactly.
God, yes. Well,
Hannibal
and
Caine.
that's another Hollywood rivalry. Those two hate each other.
Really?
And I tell you what, man, to see Deadpool and Blade in the same movie. I mean, even if it's just the actors.
Well, when you think about
crap.
it, though, Ultimate Avengers does have Blade and Deadpool in it. So
It
in
does.
The Ultimate Avengers line, Deadpool and Blade are both in there.
Spirits of Vengeance, I believe, had Blade in it, and I could just see them easily dropping Deadpool into that too.
Yeah. Well, really, you could put him in anywhere because he's been in every fucking Marvel franchise. Especially if this deal does go through and Disney says, "Oh, Fox, we now own you. We have Deadpool back," which is kind of a no-brainer. But yeah, when it comes to Blade, yeah, the third one, a lot of people hated the third one. I dug it. Because Ryan Reynolds was in it as Hannibal Caine.
Yeah.
Hannibal Caine was always one of my favorite characters in the Blade series. He was a real character in the comic books. Hannibal Caine was, and he was basically the character that Ryan Reynolds played, which is Deadpool without a suit or fucked up face. That's who Hannibal Caine is. I mean, it's no secret that he was pretty much a ripoff of Deadpool. He doesn't break the fourth wall, but he's very much so the smart ass and so on.
I still like to utter the cock-juggling thunder cunt line every once in a
all
while.
the time.
It just makes me laugh.
But the other reason I enjoyed it was because I can't remember his name, the guy that plays Dracula. He was in Prison Break. But he was also
Dominic not Cooper.
Yeah.
Can't remember his last name.
But he was also in a show back in the day with William Forsythe called John Doe, which was badass show back in the day. Another Fox show that got fucking canceled after one season. Fucking Fox. We can have Married with Children for 35 years on syndication, but we can't keep a show for one season.
One good show.
But yeah, he was in a show back in the day with William Forsythe called John Doe. That was really, really fucking good. There's some deep cuts, fucking Fox primetime TV shit for you right there. Yeah, that's right. I'm that big of a William Forsythe fan. Not only do I remember him in fucking Stone Cold with the Boz, but I remember him in John Doe back in the late 90s.
Bill Bosworth, dude.
Stone
Holy
Cold
shit.
with the Boz. Oh my god.
Hey man,
I forgot about that
Stone
movie.
Cold was the shit. You had the Boz, you had William Forsythe, and Lance Henriksen. I mean, come on. And there's titties.
God.
So
Lance Henriksen is a god as far as I'm concerned.
So to get to, I guess, the point, I would love to see Snipes come back as Blade. Hopefully now he's more humbled and not quite the prima donna that he was back when he was huge and doing Blade 3. So yeah, I would like to see him come back and see him more humbled and hopefully in a little bit better, I guess, acting shape than what he was in Expendables 3, because don't get me wrong, we all know Expendables is not where you go to see the acting chops, right? You're not going to see Sir Ian McKellen in a fucking Expendables movie. But for Christ's sakes, Wesley Snipes, I was like, wow, you can tell this dude ain't done it in a minute, because he makes Sylvester Stallone look like a fucking Academy Award winner. Like, holy fuck.
The Academy Award goes to Sylvester Stallone.
I actually think, wasn't it an Academy Award or a Golden Globe or something he won for Rocky? I can't remember what it was. I remember he won something big like that for the original Rocky movie. So yeah, anyways, I would like to see Wesley Snipes come back as Blade, especially if the deal goes through and Marvel gets back, or actually Marvel does already have the rights back to Blade. I forgot about that. They got Blade and Ghost Rider back already. So they can do the Sons of Vengeance, or Sons of Vengeance, right?
Spirits of Vengeance?
Spirits of Vengeance, that's it. They could do that storyline
please.
right now. No problem. They own the rights to both Blade and Ghost Rider at this point. So that would be really cool to see.
You know, the big ones, like the big comic book characters, I have to look at the order that things were released in. You know, they did Iron Man, they did Captain America, they did Thor, and, you know, then they started doing, well, I mean, they had the Hulk, and then the Avengers, and now Avengers 2, and now they're doing Infinity War. I love how they're building comics into this far-reaching and overlapping franchise, but I would love to see things like Deadpool kills Marvel.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing.
I'm really sorry, but just to see all of these superheroes for once get their teeth kicked in by one of their own,
that's why
that would entertain me.
Thanks to Deadpool is the reason we got Logan. I mean, there is no questioning that whatsoever. Logan would not have been the same movie if it wasn't for Deadpool. I loved Logan for what they attempted to do, because Old Man Logan is one of my favorite stories ever. I mean, not even just like a comic book thing, just Old Man Logan is an amazing story. And I understand why they didn't stick 100% to it, because it would just, well, one, they couldn't do it because they don't own the Hulk and they don't own Hawkeye or any of those other characters. They don't own Red Skull and all that stuff. So they couldn't do it. But even if they could, I don't think they could pull it off. It would have been a little too much, you know, to see Wolverine cutting his way out of the Hulk's stomach after he eats him. Like it wouldn't work on the screen, you know.
The other one
but I
was,
appreciate what they tried to do.
Oh god, I just had a train of thought and it derailed.
And yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy music choice, great. Even though this last one, like, I was really excited for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, especially when they said that fucking, well, why can I not remember his name?
Words are hard today for everybody.
I know, tell me
Yeah,
about it.
so.
Fuck.
Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell, yeah. When they said Kurt Russell was going to be in it, because I've liked Kurt Russell more now than what I ever did when he was younger. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still a big Tango and Cash fan. I'll always
Big Trouble
want
in
that
Little
truck.
China?
And Big Trouble in Little China, of course. Because you know what old Jack Burton always says in times like these. The older Kurt Russell gets, the cooler he gets. And I came to that realization when he started doing Tarantino movies. When he did Death Proof, which if you guys have never seen,
great
it
film.
is, oh god, it's pure car porn. For
I
those
love
of
it.
us that grew up watching Vanishing Point and Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, and Bullet and stuff like that, that movie was made for us. I love Tarantino for that movie alone. On top of, you know, obvious Pulp Fiction and stuff. But he was a total fucking psycho in that movie, and it was great. And then you jump forward to fucking Hateful Eight. He was so good in that movie, and I swear, the older that dude gets, the better he gets.
The better he gets.
And I was like, oh, great, he's going to be in fucking Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He's going to be funny as fuck. And then I was like, oh, well, that was kind of a lame story that didn't develop until we were fucking 3/4 of the way through the movie. What the fuck? So yeah, I was kind of disappointed by that one. But yeah, as you guys can see on the screen there, we're getting towards the end of the time. Real quickly, unfortunately, DJ wasn't able to join us tonight, but I want all of you guys listening to go check these guys out in their streams. Again, make sure you guys whore yourselves out and link your stuff in the chat there. But the podcast on Fridays, 2000 Eastern, and it is the Safety's Off podcast, and the title is earned, believe me. Safety's Off podcast, 2000 Eastern. And from what I understand, you guys are kind of rotating it around whose channel is going to host the podcast, right?
That's
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Shank, you have it this week.
Yeah, twitch.tv ShankTheNood is where you can find us this Friday, and then I think Tin, you're taking it next week, right?
Yep, taking it next week.
And then Seri will be the week after that, because by then she's going to have like 18 webcams at her front door and all of that. So definitely go check that out this Friday. I'm actually going to be streaming at the exact same time, but it's going to be a set of courses, so you guys don't give a shit anyways. Don't bother coming to watch me. Go check out the fucking podcast, please. Go show these guys some love. Give them a follow and check them out. The podcast, very fucking entertaining, and you guys will enjoy it. So make sure Friday, 2000 Eastern, again, go check that out. And, you know, ask questions. Do what you guys normally do here, minus, you know, the retardation when I start yelling at people and cheering for it. Don't get Shank too worked up. Just don't do it. He's going to end up having a heart attack or something. Yeah, please, guys, go check him out. Show him some love. Thank you guys for coming tonight. I definitely appreciate it. I enjoyed it a ton. Any parting words for your millions of fans out there before we head out for the night?
Millions of fans? Wow.
Breathe
I guess
oxygen.
I do need to start streaming. Yes.
Breathe oxygen.
always sound advice.
Stay in drugs.
Um,
Don't do school. Drink your milk.
That one too. And actually, some of you maybe shouldn't breathe oxygen. I mean, for all we know, yeah, you shouldn't breathe. So just end it. So
All naked
thank
up
you
on
all.
Mountain Dew. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, jacked.
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
I like all naked up on Mountain Dew. That's pretty good.
that just became a whole nother stream, and now you really do have millions of fans.
And now I really do need a webcam.
And I'm not sure if there's a squirrel op tonight, guys. I have no idea. I haven't talked to Wee Woo or any of the guys yet tonight, so I have no fucking clue. I know I need to stuff food in my face hole before I end up wanting to choke somebody.
Getting
and-
hangry.
Taco Bell.
And very quickly, Gig, thank you so much for that subscription, brother. Thank you for supporting the channel, and hopefully you continue to enjoy the content. But yeah, thank you guys again for hanging out tonight. I had a great time. Hopefully you guys did as well. Don't forget, if you want to get involved in the podcast, check out that Patreon link down below. You can get early access to the podcast, because once this goes off air, it gets pulled off all the screens, and you can only get access to it via my Patreon for the next week. Also, you can send in topics that you want to hear us talk about, or even be a guest on the podcast. If for some god-awful reason you want to actually speak to me, you can do that via the Patreon. And don't forget to check out the gear store as well if you want to rep some War Games Inc. gear out there. I have some very nice hoodies, t-shirts, and of course the most important, fucking coffee mug. So if you want to blame me for your heightened blood pressure and wanting to constantly shake, you're welcome for that. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and we'll be back at it at the latest Friday night for an Assetto Corsa race. And until then, later.